too far to say that we could not pretend now. Was it never enough to have just everything you want? In your shadow I found a place to hide me from my own thoughts. And if I ever got lost, you find a way to bring me home. And I want something I can hold, that's worth this waiting cold. And I want something that is real, something to make me feel alive.
escape. When you're walking on the moon, chase your happy place. Will change your groove. When you're dancing on the moon, dancing on the moon. When we dance again, all our trouble seems to fade away. This is how I feel when you take me to some levels that I've never been. When we dance again, all our trouble seems to fade away. This is how I feel when you take me to some places that I've never been. That I've never been. That I've never been. That I've never, ever, never, never been.
Walking on the moon.
One moment to escape. When you're walking on the moon,
Walking on the moon.
chase your happy place. Will change your groove. When you're dancing on the moon, dancing on the moon. When we dance again, all our trouble seems to fade away. This is how I feel when you take me to some levels that I've never been. When we dance again, all our trouble seems to fade away. This is how I feel when you take me to some places that I've never been. When we dance that I've never been. That I've never been. That I've never, ever, never, never been. dream just to be where you are, in a world I can see where you are, though you are meant to be. Wish you're here next to me. dream just to be where you are, in a world I can see where you are, though you are meant to be. Wish you're here next to me, where you
paralyze my heart. Don't wanna feel your touch like ice tracing on my scars. Why is it hurt on the inside? It's unforgivable, but I forgive you every time. Hard to let it go, 'cause we're intertwined. I break you, you break me, but something about it makes us so, baby. Every piece keeps us together in the cold. I break you, you break me, holding our love in chains of gold.
Hello and welcome back to the grid. It's been way too long. You know me, I'm F-Dot, you know Turtle. But look, we've got a new friend. It's Wade. It's Dreadnaught. It's the man. How you doing, man?
The Rocket League community, I think, better knows it as Wade Dreadnought Penfold.
Yes.
As I think,
Yes.
I think this turtle knows way too well.
We need the pen folding.
Very excited to be here, guys. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, it's super fun. If you guys missed the first grid, what's wrong with you? But if you missed, we're here for take 2. Myself and Turtle were here last time around, hanging out, watching the Alpine
sir.
boys.
It's
Very
back.
fun stuff. Yeah, man. How you been? How was your vacation?
Oh, vacation, it's been good. I think I've been more worried about if Alpine. Well, I wasn't really worried, but I was concerned as to whether or not Alpine were gonna make it back in. I didn't have doubts, but it's always on my mind. Are we gonna see another broadcast like this? And of course, the boys came through and they made it back.
I already don't like the phrasing. I'm so
you
glad that I
serious?
have somebody else here.
Wow.
Thank the heavens that you have. What do we call him? More handsome turtle?
Yeah, you're the more handsome version of me. This is unacceptable.
I said before. It looks like what is that? Benjamin
Wow.
Button? Like you're like
Just
the older
reversed it.
version of this one, you know?
Yeah.
It's I you know what, I thought it was funny, and that's what matters. But the grid this time is different. So last time around, the grid, I actually forget. There was a whole bunch of games every
Yes, sir.
single week. A lot of stuff going on. Now it's a little more refined. RLCSX, everybody kind of learning a little bit more. And I think the new format of the grid is kind of more interesting. It's 2 days this time around. We're setting the table and then we're jumping on in. Mr. Penfold, why don't you lead us through it?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to note for everybody at home is that it's basically shifting the 16 teams into 4 groups of 4. And then you have a round robin within that. So no matter what, no matter how good you were doing or how bad you were performing on a single day, or at least the opening day, it doesn't matter. You're going to make it to day number 2. It does matter, I guess, in the context of your seeding is going to be directly impacted. So you want to, well, there are a couple of points that are going to be earned as well. But we go from that round robin and then into a single elimination, which I think is a really interesting kind of curveball thrown at it. One that, I always feel as an ex-competitor in the past, I always am like, I don't know how I feel about single elimination versus not, but I definitely is going to add to the storylines. I think from a fan's perspective, really could pay off here.
I'm not an ex-competitor. I want single elimination all the time.
Of course
I love
you do.
seeing.
That's what you want. I hate single elimination brackets when I was playing, dude. It was the worst because you have to start the first series of the day is already pivotal. You can't start poorly whatsoever. You have to go in super warmed up, super ready. And a lot of times I'm superstitious. So I'll come in, I'll be like, oh, it's the first game jitters. I'm giving myself excuses already. And you can't do that in a single elimination bracket because you have got to be on your A game right when you get into the first map.
Oh man, what a shame! You've got to be good to be good.
Look,
I know.
No. Let me add to that a little bit because I think that's a fair argument. I think that's a fair argument, but I think what it enables from a competitive standpoint, and I think this is a little bit more drastic in like MOBAs where I come from than it is in the landscape of Rocket League. But you can cater to taking out a specific team and strategizing around that, and maybe a team that if you lived in a double elimination world, you make it farther down the bracket, but due to a draft difference or a severe play style difference that they have been building for just you, there is no, if you don't figure that out in the middle of the series, there is no recovery, right? And that feels devastating to commit so much and then feel like the team that you are confident you are better than is able to find a way to take a series off you.
Yeah, I'm
well,
just bad.
better is, you might be better at them at base game, but they're better at you when it comes to strategizing for that particular scenario. Esports is about adaptation, and that's what
You're right.
we're talking.
We're all feeble and weak here, and all praise to the stoic mighty to have taught over here.
My very first YouTube video ever was me driving a car for 15 minutes talking about why single elimination is the best. We should retire the double elimination.
Is this real? Is this real? You actually made that video?
Yes, I called it
Please
Drive It Home.
find it for us. Thank you.
Yes, I absolutely will. I'm going to show you a different video though. Like we said, new grid coming up, new format, same players, which is sick. But we did have to qualify. We weren't on the top of the top. We weren't on the bottom of the bottom. And I had no, unlike Turtle, I had no concerns that we were going to make it through. Alpine absolutely super confident. I'm going to keep talking about how good Alpine is. Why don't we just show you? This is how the qualifiers looked for this splits grid.
Hello and welcome here, ladies and gentlemen, to what is going to be the grid close qualifiers. Attempt to double touch.
Percy is really low on boost right now.
Jordan actually getting a touch. The follow-up from Percy. Having that in game one is a good sign there as Magic with a clean little, I don't even know what you would call this, but
This game is just a game of inches sometimes, and it definitely hurts to be on the other side of it when it doesn't go your way.
great pinch. 9 seconds left. Percy gets down to the corner, sets it up here, see if anybody's there. Magic with another touch. Is Jordan there to be able to make anything happen? Percy sets it up high. Jordan gets the follow through, and that is going to be an OT here in game number 3. Oh, big moment. Sets it down, and that is it. Percy.
Okay, good tension, or high tension there, but good play.
What a
Percy's
passing
nice
play.
shot.
What a passing play. From Percy to Magic. From Magic to Percy. Andy sends it up high. Magic Bear just trying to stall out and buy a little bit of time. 3 seconds left. Drops it down to the ground. It's got to be a huge play from Loco, and the touch comes through. Percy sends it in. And with that, qualifies for the grid in the winter split.
Shout out to the boys providing the plays. Shout out to Doomsy providing the, I don't have anything that rhymes with plays, but it looked cool. So thank you to everybody involved in the making of that video. And that's how we got here. Still, like I said, comfortable, feeling good.
No
Kettle,
doubt.
you have anything
I
to
would
say
never
about that?
doubted that. I don't know what you're talking about. See, you said that I was super worried about it. I wasn't worried. I just, I'm a negative thinker, okay? But I'm happy we're back here because now we got practice again with the new format. I think that creates more chances to build consistency. The boys are only going up. You have to be on Team Alpine at this point. I'm not even just saying that. This is the team to be if you want to have an underdog story.
Completely
I think that's
agree.
fair. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I think that's very fair. And I think, even with the performance at WSOE as well, after that point, I feel like, there's, I would say, room to kind of clean it up at moments, but also the team, having a bit of a break considering last split just ending and maybe not coming out too hot right out the gates. But I do have a pretty high bar for them, I think, coming into today, and I'm excited to see what they have.
Let's take a look at our competition. Like we said, there's 2 days of competition. Tomorrow we'll take a look at like this big single elimination bracket, but this is what we're looking at today. We've got SSG, Rogue, Alpine, and E United in this group. A lot of roster changes have been going around here, and so the way it works is everybody plays everybody. So we will play 3 matches today: SSG, Rogue, and E United. And I said a lot of roster changes here, Mr. Penfold, but no roster changes for Alpine, and I love that.
Yeah, no changes on Alpine's side. And I mean, how could you? I think is what I'm going to pose as the opening question there, because I mean, the roster is 3 rookies and has been able to perform, at least when looking at the regionals to and the major, to be a top 8 within North America. Granted, the grid didn't necessarily bear the same exact results, but you could argue that there's a curveball there in the fact that we were without Magic for a couple of weeks, right? So overall, I just think for the roster, as young as they are, both actual experience and in physical age, it's kind of hard to suggest making a change when up is kind of where they just keep continuously going.
I feel like whenever I look at Alpine, a lot of times they remind me of, a team that's on the cusp of breaking into the top 8 or even the top 4. And a lot of times you'll see them in clutch moments where they need to perform. They need to exceed our expectations. Teams that are in that bubble area will fail to meet our expectations or, whatever standard we have set for them. But for Alpine, when it came down to the big moments, the big tournaments, even in the major, in all of the regional event playoffs, they showed up and they made it there consistently. And that's, I think, the difference between, Alpine versus somebody else who's in the same category like KCP or any of their rivals.
Yeah, I agree with that one for sure. Like looking at the relative consistency, you know, coming out with the same stuff every time. Kind of like me and Turtle coming out with the same stuff every week, repping the gear,
Yes,
repping the
sir.
gear.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Surprise, Dreadnought. Are you rep? Oh, he's repping it.
He doesn't miss.
Oh,
He
that's
doesn't
insane.
miss. This guy
That's
doesn't miss.
insane.
He's
You want-
he's the handsome version of me, and he's also wearing the shirt. I lost. It's
I
over.
gotta outdo you guys real quick.
You think?
Hey,
Dude,
you guys,
I forgot to get the hat. I forgot to get the
you
hat.
guys can get your own gear! Exclamation point merch in the chat. Click the link. Game time, baby.
Yeah, it's exciting. Talk about a series to kick it off with. You know, Space Station Gaming. You know, I said I had a high bar, but I feel like Space Station is really going to be establishing that for Alpine here.
Oh, definitely.
I'll be real. This is, you know, Rogue. The other guys.
Why are you worried? Why are you stressing? See
I'm
what
not. I'm
happens?
not stressed. I was gonna say. I think this is one of the teams that we could
Yeah.
destroy, and
Okay.
I'm probably gonna come off a goal from Jordan. That's all
Here
I'm
we
saying.
go.
Historically speaking, this is actually one of the only teams out of the top four, other than Rogue, depending on what week you look at them, that we have a history of actually beating. Right?
Yeah.
We took
Which
on
is
Space Station
wild.
Gaming in the majors off of a stream, which is the only reason we were able to get the dominant performance we had through the remainder of the day. So, you know, history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme.
So what
And
you're
let's hope we
saying
can
is
find
if
that
we turn
today.
off the stream right now, we'll have better luck. Is that what I'm getting from Mr. Penn?
No. I was saying that when giving the audience here, the team's ready to clutch it out and show you guys how it happened the first time.
Oh, there we go. Okay, excellent work. See, that's what I like to hear. And SSG, I mean, they're still scary, but with how much practice we got, you also think back to the original format of the grid and all those rounds and series against NRG specifically. I remember in the grid, it felt like we were facing NRG almost every week.
time.
Yeah, literally. We'd go in and it'd be like, oh, who are we playing this week? Oh, it's NRG. So we'd have to prepare ourselves, get more practice. And now we'll see how in the next split these guys pop off because we've got the confidence of that first split under our belt.
History doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes.
Yeah,
I'm still thinking about this.
it's a Mark Twain quote, I believe.
Oh, good old Samuel.
You know what? You're showing that you're a more educated and cultured man than myself. So I have no idea what his actual name is, other than how he got his kind of writing name.
Yeah, the marking the Twain. Yeah, you're there.
Yeah,
Dude.
the physical
I've
voting
been
here.
sitting here for like 5 minutes trying to break down that quote, and I finally understood it now. Like it took me. I was thinking about it the whole time
Me
you guys were having
too,
a
dude.
conversation, and I finally
Oh.
understand it. So
My
that was pretty
goodness.
good.
I'm glad that you could join us here, Turtle.
Yeah. No, I'm here now. I'm here.
For
Shout out to
reference,
that
it's,
save though.
Yeah, that was a quick one. Not too bad. I think looking at Alpine and their defense, that's what I kind of want to see step up this time around. Mystic, and of course, every single time you talk about Alpine, you got to mention hard carry creams. But Mystic has done a lot of work to help these guys
Yeah.
really improve bit by bit. I think that was the most fun last season, Turtle, or last split, being able to, nice shot, just sort of watch. Okay, week one, let's say like week 3, they have an issue. Let's say they're not passing enough. And then week 4, they are absolutely passing enough. Maybe there's a new issue. And then week 5, whatever new issue they have, they would fix it. And bit by bit, they've like very specifically, almost like when you're practicing an instrument, like, all right, we're going to learn this. You're going to learn this. You're going to learn this. And Mystic and the guys really like made an effort to improve there. I want to see that with defense this time around.
A lot of that happens too because of how skilled these players are, and as
My
Reddles
goodness.
styles on us makes us
That
look
was slick, man.
a little bit silly on defense. This touch here to keep it close, then to save his flip after going off the wall to still follow it up. This is why SSG is such a threat. These guys, the mechanics and also the decision making. I always say that SSG, it could be any player, it could be any play style, it could be a dribble, aerial flips, backboard redirects, flip resets. These guys can literally take any option and make it their own. That's why they're so scary. So our defense has got to be improved with the positioning.
I feel like Reddles as a player has every time I watch him, I feel like he displays so much. I'm gonna use the word like heart and hustle. Just purely from the fact that like he is just all over the pitch doing anything and everything that gives him an advantage. And honestly, to me, he's one of the most intimidating players in all of Rocket League because of that. And I feel like only showing it there, maybe being a little less aggressive on the bumps and trying to get in the way and just be a nuisance on the pitch, but instead just purely from a mechanical play, and I think really is a huge enabler to what Space Station does.
It's tough for him, I think. Like Typical, I've called him that. Jordan by himself. Oh, okay, I didn't see that, dude. My bad. I've called Typical, and a lot of people have, like, the best player in the world, right? That might not be the best player in the world shot. It just is what it is. But a lot of people will like kind of like at least agree North America. Da, 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 da. Arsenal very, very short. I feel like Reynolds doesn't get a lot of the spotlight often. Is it because his play style is, you know, more small things that he does rather than like these insane mechanical plays, or is it because there's other people?
It's definitely one of those unsung hero stories, but then he's also his personality, you know, even in interviews, you know who he is, and things still popping off. Jordan, you can tell the mechanics from these guys always still impresses me, and they continue the pressure. FDOT, you remember during the grid, we always talked about this. It'd be one opportunity, and then they'd fizzle out. Now we keep the pressure and keep the rotations going. We feed off that first crazy shot from Jordan and continue to add another shot. It's that easy. Let's go.
I started calling this towards the end of the grid, and dude, watching WSOE, watching them play really, really well. Popcorn offense is really what, like, they just keep like the shots might not even be great, but the fact that they keep control, they play that like half court stuff, and they just keep shoving shots at the goal. It's eventually the defense like shows a hole, and it works out here.
My
wow.
Shout out to Magic on that pass, dude. Look at this pass from Magic. Backwards touch like that.
And there was a team bump though. Did you see SSG?
Yeah.
There were two players who just decided to run into each other. And then also that pass with the booty blast to get that one all the way across. Bro. Oh my goodness.
The little like side shove.
Just
the little side shimmy just above
That's
the two defenders. You can't make that up. Tied at 3. I think we're going to overtime. Unless
we're about to end it right now.
Unless
angle.
Oh,
He does it.
Oh, overtime. What? Who are you gonna doubt more, FDOT or the boys on Alpine? And I'm doubting FDOT 100% of the time because we're not gonna make it. We got 4 seconds left. No, you started out. I heard the first sentence. The vibes you were giving out. Okay, you didn't jinx it though. I'm happy. But good job, FDOT.
Thank you. Game 1 above Space Station. I'm feeling good, boys. This is how we start the grid, man. I'm amped. I'm excited, bro. That's cool.
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing for me there was the game did not feel overwhelming on the side of like Space Station control and capabilities, which I think is, when I watch Alpine against anybody amongst that top 4, you're ready for the miracle defense until hopefully they get an offensive transition goal, right? But that felt like it was a very back and forth game, and I would say that I honestly comes out better on behalf of Alpine in most situations there. The fact that they aren't just basically watching Percy be a wall, Magic do his best to be able to try and get the ball out, and Jordan as well holding on the third man. So that was really good for them. I think this is going to be a good indicator for the rest of the day.
I think my favorite part is that the roles are reversed here because we've got SSG, a team who's a dominant one at that, and they're in the top 4. And they come out here against Alpine, granted the underdog of the series. So normally you'd expect in this matchup, maybe the underdog gets a few games, has the lead, ends up throwing a lot mentally. They lose track of their defense, and then they'll give up a goal last second. This time it's Alpine who's making the climb all the way back, and it's their confidence and composure that actually results in the overtime cancellation. That's what I'm talking about, because most of the time when you're the underdog, you're freaking out in those final few seconds. And that right there is a sign that Alpine have gotten confidence on the field and also in the comps.
My thing here was that, like, we didn't look outclassed. Like, I call Alpine and Kansas City Pioneers the top of the middle, right? You have your top of the crop Space Stations and G2s and NVs, right? And then you've got your middle of the pack, which is everybody that's not at the bottom, like our bottom teams, you know? And like, okay. these are normally situations where, like, you just get outclassed. Now, I think the goals that Space Station did score were real pretty, but like we played, we kept up, we won. Like that was, I did not feel like that was a lucky game at all.
And you're talking about luck, and we're trying to break down our defense. This was not an issue in the first game. Our spacing completely on top of each other. SSG breaking us down. A shot past the midfield line, still going to slip in. And at this point, not the best start, but we don't need to talk about it too much because that defense, we don't want to mention it. But overall, I agree with you, Efta. I think that as we get into this game too, SSG is going to be a lot tougher to keep fighting against that defense. We're not going to get shots like that. Usually, they're so good at challenging early on, SSG. There's barely any chance to have a slow pace shot to go on net.
But one huge difference I would say so far in this game and the last one, and that was the original kind of that I gave out audibly, was Jordan is far more offensive in this game than we typically see. And when that happens, I personally feel like that is the best kind of peak form, if you will, of Alpine, is whenever it's not just Jordan, it's really whenever we can get more than one of the players to really seem to be standing out and feeling themselves. And that ceiling shot challenge that we got from him before and the setup in the passes in game number 1, I feel like this is going to be, he's going to be somebody to keep our eye on throughout the rest of today for sure.
Magic Bear gets a lot of love for being like the ones player and doing things like that right there. And Jordan tends to be the Swiss Army knife. And it's interesting because people love to put a microscope on like the fancy offensive players. Nice defense there. But like it's learning how to be the utility guy is just as difficult as anything else.
Yeah.
And so like
I'd say it's more difficult, to be honest.
Exactly. And he's learning when he needs to be the defensive guy for the team, when he needs to be that guy for the team. And like you said, this is I would love to see more of this Jordan.
And more of this Jordan, but also the Percy pass. This is an example of having flashy mechanics in that support role that you were just talking. I feel like it gets underlooked all the time. Is fancy passes like that. It's so easy to just look at the shot the entire time, but with Percy, the way he rotated his card to even find the angle to pop that one out, we need to give more credit to that. And that's what Jordan does a lot of time for this roster. Is he has high mechanical passes that often get overlooked because the setup or the shot was a little bit tougher.
Yeah,
Percy's
that was
always in the right spot.
Yeah, Percy seems to have a almost like mirror which he can see the future at times based on his positioning. Like the guy always seems to be a second ahead of where the ball is going to be. And on the note of Jordan in that third man in the support role, like we were talking about, is Reynolds, not get as much love, clean passing play there, but does Reynolds not get as much love due to the positioning and the performance of every other player, right? And this is something that Jordan talked a lot about, both from his own standpoint, but also when looking at other teams, like Rizzo, for instance, he felt like was an example of somebody who just gets a lot of flack, but doesn't necessarily get appreciated on how much really room he gives the rest of the team, as Jordan gives a nice pass over here to Percy to tie this up.
Man, Turtle used to say it all the time. He loves this phrase. Everybody loves this phrase, but Percy is punctilious.
Oh my
That's
God.
like always.
You can't
Turtle
bring this
loves
back in the
that.
first stream, bro.
Turtle
This is not
loves
what I
it.
wanted to hear.
Chat loves it. Everyone loves it.
It's
Everyone
the
loves
worst, but also the best. And
Everyone loves
this is what I'm talking about, though. We don't get ourselves in a mental rut necessarily, because a lot of times I think in the first grid in that other format, especially in the first maybe 3 weeks, I would notice a lot of times we'd concede a goal or something horrible would happen with our positioning, and it would throw off the offense, the defense. You could see it physically on the pitch. Now, things get scored up against us, and it comes down to the experience that we've had facing so many top tier teams. Now, at what point, we get scored on, we can move past it, instantly focus on putting one back in. That's what we just did. And now we even have offensive pressure to move forward with. Our play style is so much more solid than it's ever been.
It is solid, but that, save there, not going to have enough weight against it to get it out of the way to Reynolds.
Okay, I was wondering what happened there. Percy going for the 50. I thought it was more of a two-person challenge where it kind of squeezed out, but it was just a bit delayed from whoever was striking. And now, a bit frustrating because I was expecting more of a clear in that situation too. And now with Magic Bear popping off, I'm concerned for how we're transitioning. Still, we have pressure, though. This is what we don't ever fail when it comes to transitioning, which typically we'd back off after making mistakes like that.
Mm-hmm. I still think that's the biggest hole in the Alpine game plan, so to speak, is playing in transition. A lot of times we get scored on after like big boom clear, then the team comes down and just like beats us down the pitch. But if we're able
Oh,
to
look at
play
those
like,
bombs.
Oh my goodness.
He sent Jordan to the moon, dude. Oh,
Yeah.
who was that? Arsenal?
yeah,
Seriously, look at that in the back right corner, the actual moon. Jordan is coming off the ceiling to try and get this save. No wonder the man's late.
That looked like mutators with like super low gravity. He just got sent. Absolutely sent.
that was funny. Unfortunately, now we're down 2, but it looked funny, so I'm here for it.
I mean, that is, from my personal playing experience, some of the most frustrating situations. I'd rather be demoed. At least then I know where I'm going to end up in 2 seconds.
And you don't have to watch the ball just float into your own net like we just did here as well for the 5th goal. SSG, they're running away with it, to say the least, but still, it's
Real
that midfield
clean.
passing as well. Yeah, it's one of those things where you don't want to necessarily harp too much on the defense, but instead applaud the midfield awareness that SSG have.
3 goals to go. Can we do it?
I mean, 30 seconds, it's not impossible.
1 goal every 10 seconds. Easy, right?
Definitely would have wanted a bit more of a dominant opportunity possibly there. It's going to set up a second pass. Jordan?
Oh,
hey!
With the last game and how that one ended, it's not out of the range. Okay, we can do this. In terms of Jordan shooting, the man doesn't miss. The setups have been really solid from Percy as well this game. So I'm surprised because it seems like maybe the roles have been swapped up a bit here because normally Percy's the one finishing a lot of these shots. But instead, he's setting them up.
Yeah, I actually, that's kind of what I was getting to a little bit with Jordan's significance on the field. Like, it does feel a little bit like, role swap, if you will. But I don't think that's being done consciously, at least not to my knowledge. And that's what I think is really, again, kind of when they perform at their best is when it is a little less rigid. It's less watch Percy bring it up first, Magic Bear get hopefully a nice pass, and then it's either Percy cutting rotation or Jordan coming through as the third man, right? When it is a little bit more fluid and, they flow like water, that they suddenly kind of turn up to be that team that is the top 4 contender that you kind of hint at, right? And though I think there's still a lot of room to get there, signs are displayed whenever they work like that.
Looking at this one, tied 1-1, best of 3. So the next one wins, right? Just single.
It's
single
best of
games?
5.
It's best of 5. Best of 5.
Oh, wait.
No more best of 3. That was. We don't need to talk about it.
Okay. All right. Clean. So we have some extra shots. There's a question. I mean, is it? Are you happier that it's best of 5 versus 3?
Absolutely. I have never been a fan of best of 3s in Rocket League for as long as I've played this game. It just doesn't convey any situation of how the series went, in my opinion, because it's just so confusing whenever you're on the field and you say you win one series or win one game, win the next. Even whenever you win a best of 3, you don't really feel like you earned it. And I don't know if that's because the standard has been set with best of 5s, so maybe it was kind of like a new thing that got thrown at the players, but it's always been frustrating to deal with. And coming out in the best of 5s, I'm a big fan of. And I also wanted to talk about Dread, you mentioned roles, okay? Do you not like the idea of roles? I personally think that if a
think
team
they
is
should not exist.
Yes, exactly. I was wondering if you're on the same wavelength, where it's like if a striking role exists, then you're gonna box yourself in and force your teammates not to be able to push up into that spot.
Yeah, I can get deep into this conversation and like gaming philosophy and strategizing and everything else, but I will say, as a blanket statement, anytime you make a decision or a setup that puts you in a position to where you don't have the most amount of options, right? You limit how many options are available on that play, then I think you were making a misplay. And I think by defining roles and giving roles to be a priority, you might be catering to your strengths in the short term, but in the long term, you're going to be hindering how effective you could be as a unit, again, based on the options being directly limited. And that holds true for almost any video game. That's not just Rocket League.
Yeah.
But I really do think that it's something that we'll see kind of wither away as Rocket League continues to evolve.
It's such a fluid game that, like, saying I'm always the third man, I'm always the first man, like sometimes the scenario doesn't give you that option, and like you can identify who your shooter is and like try to give him the ball a little more often, But at the end of the day, if you're utility player, non-shooter, third, whatever word, if they're the one with the ball in front of the net, take the shot, dude. Like, and
Well,
it's limiting yourself. I think is rough.
I also notice a lot of times when we interview players, they get really upset whenever you. Well, they don't necessarily get upset, but you can tell if you ask them about, their other teammate. Oh, he's the striker, he's the shooter. You can tell it's something that kind of throws them off a bit because in their mind, I'm sure they're thinking, we all play the same role. It's just the ball happens to fall to certain
Mhm.
people with opportunities depending on, the decisions that you make leading up to that.
Yeah, I very much agree with that. I feel like I don't know. The rules I think originally do make a ton of sense when it comes to building your original when building your original roster and how to strategize, because you have to start with a fundamental level, right? Like you have to have a constant to be able to improve on, but given enough time, I think it's something that should kind of dissipate. And I think again, I think it's already happening within the top teams as time's gone on that have less significant roles, but think
Yeah.
that will continue.
Typical jumping. And no goals here so far. But honestly, it's not, I want to sit here and be like, yeah, our defense is sick. But really, I mean, neither team really seem that they're like on it right now. Ball's just kind of jumping around, a lot of neutral play. I mean, how is this compared to like what we saw in game 1 and 2, where it was both teams look good.
Oh, yeah.
Here, both teams look like they missed something.
Well, it's also one of those typical series, I would say, where I hate calling Alpine like an underdog necessarily, but essentially what's expected doesn't occur. And then all of a sudden there's a pop off now from Arsenal. You just talked about him not showing up, or I guess a quiet place.
Did
And
I
now
say
he's just
that?
ruined the silence. He's ruined the silence. Okay.
Did I say
You
that?
mentioned it.
I don't think I said that. I don't think I said that. Why are you making this up?
After you called me out earlier on, all right? You mentioned what was it, Percy's punctility? Oh, and now look what happens when we bring the phrase up. This is why we can't mention that phrase ever in the passing
you
game.
got to mention it positively.
I don't know how
That's
to do that
different.
because I can't say the word, and I don't know how to watch these midfield passes tear us apart.
Well, it's only 2, and we've definitely come back from worse scenarios. So I'm not overly concerned, so to speak. I would like to win the game. Quality commentary coming out from FDOT. It would be good to score as many, if not more,
Okay.
goals than the
Keep it going.
opposition.
Keep it going. I like this.
One thing we can do is do that, where we put the ball into the net in an effort to make the goal count go up.
And you've got to talk, first of all, about Magic Bear starting to pop off a bit. And sorry, my cord is getting stuck because my dog keeps trying to come over here. It's interesting to know that
Wants to see the game.
supported by the pups and also by the boys, FDOT, Dreadnaught, and Turtle. And I'm happy to see them still carry out of that mental rut that they keep digging themselves into. I don't know. Do you notice that shift, FDOT? It's like they've matured in terms of tilt. There's basically nothing that can defy or alter their play style.
They've learned how to lose, which is more important than learning how to win. Learning how to win, it doesn't matter how you respond. It's merely a moral test, right? And how people interpret it, like, because you can either win confidently, kind of in a cocky fashion, and people will be like, "Well, you're just a bad, poor sportsmanship," or you can win gracefully and maybe win it a little bit better. But if you don't learn how to lose, you don't learn how to compete. And I think that is something that's kind of being displayed here. Sadly, learning how to lose comes at a cost.
Look at this.
Oh,
Look at this, dude.
the way he had the wave dash on us to the flip reset to follow it up with the wave dash, man. You have to learn how to lose, and you also have to learn how to accept stuff like that.
That's the thing. If you got to pull out all the tricks out of the bag, you know that we're worth, like, hey, okay, we made them put their big boy pants on. That feels good, right? As an up and comer, that was the talking about the attitude adjustment or whatnot. That was something doing WSOE with Lawler. That was the thing that he noted the most out of Alpine, was that, looking at some of the older footage, Alpine really would come in and kind of, you would tell that they would kind of get down on themselves. And we even had I think it was Jordan. I might be wrong. On one of the post game shows here on the grid, where he was just like, "Yeah, man, like we got in our head, we kind of lost that one." Da, 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 da. And I'm not gonna say never, but you don't really see that so much now after a full split and all this. Like that's definitely something that they, whether consciously or or unconsciously, worked on, and it's looked good.
Yeah, and I think the acknowledgement of that also is a step in the right direction. What started things off as the 0-second buzzer beater doesn't go in our favor. Still frustrating. I guess game overall for us. I think that we couldn't get ourselves out of defense, and when it came down to that transition game that we were so confident with in game one, a lot of times we had no answer for those passes that went across the field.
Yeah, I think a little bit had to do with like that game. It felt like Magic Bear was definitely stepping up in terms of his significance, like opening with a really nice flip reset shot early on.
Yeah.
That was just a really good defense coming through, and he excuse me, had another play in the mid game that I felt like that seemed like not confirming those goals, even though it was mechanically like a rather beautiful play. Seemed to have an impact on them a little bit here, and slow it down a bit. And whenever they slow it down a bit, it seems like Space Station Gaming, it's one of those, give an inch, take a mile kind of circumstances.
We got another chance at this, right? Best of 5, and so
Yes, sir.
Space Station don't win just yet. Next one, I think the biggest question I want to ask here, Turtle, is like, what went so wrong in that, if anything? Was that just like Space Station doing what Space Station does off of some of those plays, or is there something we could physically do to get more in the way?
I mean, this is something that teams consistently have a problem with against SSG, and that's learning when to challenge the ball. A lot of times, SSG, like I discussed earlier, they can go any route they want to with the ball. They can have Arsenal going for some demos, get some aggression going. You can have Reddles do the exact same thing, Sipicles flip resets, Arsenal then come out with a dribble, a mind game. Literally, there are endless opportunities for this team that has a wide range of skill. And that's why on defense, you have got to be better at predicting
Wow.
where they're going to go with it and how to get in front of the ball, which is nearly impossible, I will say, from personal experience, but you have to try your best.
Watching Sipical play defense like in reverse there, I was just like, okay, man. Like,
Such a
it's
nutty
funny to
touchdown
watch.
there that almost set up a pass there for Space Station. And I think that's kind of can come from all angles and do a bunch of different stuff that Space Station has going for them, which honestly directly caters to the conversation I was having before, where it's like it's the options. Having options, right, is almost always your safer play.
Yeah.
Space Station Gaming is so threatening because they legitimately all can do so many different things that their options are almost always available. It can be each and every player be given a flip reset shot, and you aren't wondering which one of you is gonna be able to hit it mechanically. It's more about just who's in the best position to make it happen.
Well, we can't feed into the trap. A lot of times I'm looking at our positioning on the field whenever we're transitioning. We can't find somebody on the other side with our clear because in our rotation, we're worried about boost. We're in a panic situation, which is what SSG are trying to do with all of those different options. They're trying to make us freak out and just choose one right away. A lot of times that'll give up our positioning. It'll make the pass that much more obvious for where SSG need to move with the ball. And then we give up a free shot or a free goal. We need to calm down a bit, maybe even dribble out for some 50s, and then we can go from there.
In another situation, they're forcing us to get stacked. Jordan actually stopped that. Wow.
That's the forcing 50s. That's what I'm talking about. You just got to get in front of them.
Man. And you're really right though, Turtle. Like for a moment there, defensively, we were absolutely stacked. Definitely panicked, trying to figure a way out of it. And clutch opportunity to get a save there from, I believe it was Jordan. But got to find a way to bring it back and find. I think it's just kind of cohesion, a little less panic and chaos. Is another bump opportunity. Percy actually saves that after getting bumped out. The transition goal will it come through? Sipical denies it.
How did he get that save? He was reversing. Did he get bumped? I'm not sure if he had any physical contact with the player because it looked like he got bumped into a reverse situation and then had to flip and get the save. Is that what happened?
I think so. That's what I saw from my screen. Either way, honestly, I feel like anytime that you get bumped that close with a shot on, if you're able to recover, you're displaying a certain level of foresight and skill that is definitely respectable, especially even more so at this level rather than my pleb lobbies.
Hey man, I'm
Like
back in the
that.
range of pleb lobbies too, as that one gets saved still from Magic, but who's swapped, excuse me. Normally we see him on the dominant, so rocking the octane. I support it. I like to see it.
We saw some Batmobile actually last week
Yeah,
as
Really,
well.
who was
we
playing a
did.
Batmobile?
We had Jordan on Batmobile, and actually both Magic and Percy
Ooh,
swapped to Dominus. It was
okay.
definitely an outlier vehicle day.
What kind
I
of
mean, that's
performance did we see? Was it looking good, or how would we describe this?
I mean,
day one was good.
you didn't get the like, you didn't note maybe a Dominus touch or anything overly significant based on the card, but overall, I mean, we came out with third overall, right? So I would say you can definitely consider it a win, but by no means were you
Oh
looking at
yeah,
that and going like, oh, this is why we got Jordan on the Batmobile.
right. I've been actually using the Batmobile more often than not. It's that tight turning radius that I really appreciate about it, because when it comes to recovering in a position, it's so much easier to do that. As our backboard defense still getting tested, you can see now Percy Jordan constantly staying on the backboard, waiting to get it clear. This one goes out to Magic Bear, and then he's demo. And now all this space given up to SSG. We're back on the end of defense, trying to hold them off.
No
It's a
big
nice
deal.
touch though from Jordan, at least another bump trying to come, but touch from Jordan to send it to the corner to at least buy a little bit of time to reset in those moments. It's those ones off the backboard like that, if you're down a demo, that can really cost you. Percy gets flashy with it. Magic actually tries to get the dunk afterwards. Luckily, Jordan gets that touch. Otherwise, we'd be in a very bad spot.
Yes!
Sets up the pass
Oh!
after.
Oh my god, I love everything that just happened. This was full team
Dude.
communication. We Percy came down with the fancy air dribble and had the teammate in place to react to the contest in the air, and that allowed the secondary opportunity, which was blocked, and the backup man was there. That's fundamentals, baby.
And the mechanics, though, Jordan to recover on the backboard, land, get the extra touch. The dude is popping off, and I'm continuously impressed with his mechanics as the support role, which we were mentioning earlier, Dread.
Uh-oh. I do want to agree with that statement, but I'm sorry. A demo down, 5 seconds left in SSG with the ball makes me hold my breath a little bit here.
No, we're
Jordan
good.
with kind of a panic touch.
Why are you doubting? Why are you doubting?
Why are you
I'm
doubting?
surrounded by doubters right now.
Why are you doubting? No, we're on the same team right now. Why are you doubting?
No.
I don't know. I don't know why I was doubting.
Was it not you who doubted us earlier, F dot? Okay. Remember in the final 10 seconds, I remember you talking.
Nope.
You were like, "Oh no, I don't think we can do it." And then
Nope.
boom, we get the OT, the buzzer beater.
No, it's Turtle.
Thank you. I did doubt him a little bit earlier though in the open qualifier, but not. That was a doubt that was coming from a place of love. How about that?
I'll be completely honest with you. All jokes, showmanship aside, 0% doubt in the open qualifiers. Like
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
I look at Alpine and I look at I look at Alpine and Kansas City Pioneers as the future of NA Rocket League. I think I legitimately, like, no bias, no nonsense, no, can't say that word, but no garbage. I 100% believe in this team. Are they going to beat Space Station Gaming and Energy at the World Championship this season? Absolutely not. Probably not. Let's say that one. But a season, this team's got legs. I 100%, 1000% believe that. Would say it if I wasn't on this broadcast. I got faith, man.
Okay.
I really do.
Just laying it out. Laying it all on the line. See, I respect
I'm so
the honesty.
amped about this squad.
Genuinely, I might even say we get in that situation where we're in the grand finals. Alpine are there, NRG are there. I think there's some magic. There's some magic with Alpine that would result in some kind of crazy scientific experiment where we become the grand final winners.
I mean, here's the deal. If Alpine makes it to grand finals of World Championship, it is 100% realistic that they win the grand finals. I think it is less realistic that they get there. Does that
Correct.
make sense?
I understand. Yes.
You know what I mean by that? Like, one set at a time, Alpine, I feel like, can beat anyone. But big picture, realistically, I think there's just a lot of stars that need to align to make the Big Dipper.
Oh, Magic.
But if we're there, this team is good, man. It's fun.
There's no debate about that.
It is fun.
You can see it in the mechanics too. Now we've got, what is this? Game 5. Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
This has gone by. For whatever reason, it feels like we're just now getting into game 2. This has been one of the fastest series I feel like I've watched in a while.
Turtle, every game is 5 minutes unless we go to overtime.
No, I meant, you know what I'm saying. We got to game 5 fast. What are you talking
I mean,
about?
we got to game 5 in 20 minutes, right?
Oh, sorry, that's safe from Percy. If he gets that touch any more awkward, that could have been a terrible kind of setup against Magic Bear. Wasn't able to get that double touch. But who do you think's the player to watch here on Alpine for game number 5 to be able to close it out if they do? Who do you think has the clutch factor, guys?
F-Dot? Come on, bro. I already know who I'm going with. I already know who I'm going with, but I just
all
don't
right.
know
Well,
who.
then tell us then if you
Are you-
already know. I already know. So then tell
I'm
us.
just saying, I wanted to see if you would pick my boy Percy or not, because I feel like he is the go-to. You know, you can go with the Jordan. We were giving him credit earlier, the passes, but at the end of the day, Percy's gonna hit those shots.
So you would say Percy's like always on time, right?
Correct.
You would say he's punctilious then, right?
Oh.
Yeah!
Oh my
How did you
God.
not
Percy
see that? My man
is
put it on a
punctilious.
tee.
I didn't get your quote earlier, Dreadnought. It took me like 5 minutes to understand what you had even said. I was processing it. Okay, how do you expect me to know when he's doing this to me? And also when SSG are on our goal line, still
Wait.
passing in the middle.
There it
I'm
is.
not even worried. Let's go.
The demo, though, actually gives me pause here for a moment. My answer to that is actually going to be Jordan. I think he is going to find a way to kind of bamboozle everybody else out. I do agree that I think Percy as well could be the enabler. But the defensive save to open that quick like chaos on our half was actually Jordan with a really nice backflip as he finds a way to get demoed.
I think
We haven't had
this
much control.
team- Yeah, I think Alpine is a squad that might have a game plan as who they want to feed. Like in general, you know, like in transition, everybody tends to look towards Magic Bear when we're playing that like half court style play. You know, in general, Percy can be the one that winds up on the shooting side. But
Oh,
real talk, I think in these moments, as y'all sweat and I wasn't doubting at all, I think the team just embraces their full like teamness, if you will, and just kind of like goes with it. Like, all right, man, all three of us are accomplished and can get it done. And I have seen overtime goals from Alpine from all three players. Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think that's really the realistic part of it.
Magic with
Right
that
there.
setup. Woo! What is this? Off this wall to just barely kiss that one out of what was it? Sipical's
Clean.
range.
Yeah.
And
My goodness.
Who did I just want to ask you guys, who did I say would come up clutch with the striking real quick with the
Look,
little
we got a minute
finesse?
25.
A little
here, all right?
finesse? I
Bro,
just gotta
I'm not
did we
hating
see the
Percy.
shot? You talk about the setup, Percy. He had to
I
delay
mean, you
that
gotta
flick
hit that.
backwards. No, there is no you gotta hit that. There's you're clutch or you're not.
Okay. I'm looking at Magic Bear in that play, but still, that's
Okay,
fine.
no, it's
No
fine.
hate.
No, it's fine.
I do agree with you. Maybe I'm not giving enough here to Percy because that touch is hard because you know your momentum. If you carry too much, that's easily off the post, right? Like you don't
Yeah.
actually slide that in at that angle without making sure that you're at a full stop and then get enough kind of oomph on the front half of your vehicle to be able to get it out. And even a nice challenge there from Percy as well. Give us a bit of breathing. It's not over quite yet, but once again, Percy just says "nigh" and sends it back.
Okay. All right. 38
39.
seconds, boys. Ooh. I'm chilling. I'm not sweating.
Oh,
Oh my, Percy.
I felt
And
that
it's
one.
Percy again.
I felt
Literally, if you had a heat map of Percy on this map, the whole thing would just be him right now.
Oh man.
and I'm a little bit worried about the rotations when it comes to the defense, though. This is the moment where SSG start to complicate things.
What?
Percy,
Percy!
okay, he's rotating all over the map. It's just him getting the saves. All his teammates getting demoed. Percy
Is that
gets out
it?
on top. Let's go. Oh my goodness. And the transition. Look at this setup.
Nice. Nice.
Wow.
The power on
is-
that touch, too.
Man. Yo, so here's my thing. Look at it, Rogue, United, the other squads that we have to play against, roster changes, and those are teams that I have faith. This what I expected, if you want my caster prediction. 2-1, Space Station being the one that we
Okay.
drop. And to see this, man, you
Oh,
start the
babe.
day off spanking the Space Station SSSG. Like, man. Woo! I'm chilling. Like, yo, I'm ready to go.
We're fired up,
Okay.
bro. This is the best start so far. A lot of times Alpine comes out.
Nice.
We're a little bit sluggish, like we just kind of woke up a bit. We came out fully swinging on the boys. SSG couldn't handle it. The defense getting a little bit tricky in those final moments. But shout out to Percy. Shout out to Percy all over the map.
Shout out
Yeah,
to Percy. Yeah.
That was ridiculous, actually. Like, genuinely, I think it was a sequence of 6 touches where you were like, that could be a bad one.
Yep.
And Percy's like, here I come to save the day. Like, it was just in there all the time. Very well done. And, I think to talk to your point, Turtle, about, starting off slow, I think that not only exists within a series, but like looking at an overall event, right? Like the first game, we come out with a win. The first series against such a formidable opponent come out with a win. Like, it does feel that, I don't know, the tone of today, from my perspective, has been the maturity since we last saw them, right? And I feel like that is highlighted in, again, the performance in that game or in that series, and then the opening of the event itself, and even their play style within the game really seems to be a new tier, if you will.
And you got to look at the individual matchups too, just to show maturity, because I think a lot of times, you look at this, it's a best of 5. Not only do we get the game 5 clutch win, but on top of that, on the games that we lost to SSG, they had scored 5 goals against us in each one. Even having, I believe it was in game 3, they beat us 5-1, which is already difficult to bounce back of mentally. But for us to continue to pull through, come into game 5, get the clutch up, that just speaks maturity on another level.
That's like I said, I don't know if I finished my thought there, but like working with other people, looking at Alpine, they were like, yeah, that's the biggest thing that I've noticed is this team have kind of leveled up mentally, matured, and kind of come through, taking down Space Station in 5 games, 3-2, obviously 5 games, but they won it, and Space Station didn't. That's the cool stuff. Hashtag the climb, hashtag Alpine, hashtag Miley Cyrus. We're going to go to break, and we got a couple more matches. We'll be right back.
Every time hard to let it go, 'cause we're intertwined. I break you, you break me, but something about it makes us so. Maybe every piece keeps us together in the cold. I break you, you break me. Holding our love in chains of gold. I break you, you break me. Holding our love in chains of frozen in my dream. I can't escape the thoughts of you. If I try to leave, when I'm with you I can't move. It's unforgivable, but I forgive you every time. Hard to let it go, 'cause we're intertwined. I break you, you break me, but something about it makes us whole. Maybe every piece keeps us together in the cold. I break you, you break me, holding our love in chains of gold.
Whoa. Woof. I'm choking. Like
He's
Space
back.
Station. Rip. Welcome back to the
Oh.
grid here. We're starting off good, baby.
That's
Alpine
right.
filling up 1-0. I'm obviously feeling it. Turtle, are you feeling it yet, Mr.
Are you
Krabs?
kidding me? I am, dude. Listen here. The clutch factors were all there. We had Percy the saves. We had the first game going our way with 6 seconds left. What more could you ask out of Alpine? And it's almost night and day. First week of grid, in the last split, it started off pretty rough. Now we come out here, we're being SSG. That's what I call growth, baby.
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's super awesome to be able to see. But at the same time, I think, you were indicating you're kind of a pessimist yourself, Turtle. I also sit on the negative side of the spectrum here. And with that, we know this team is great, and we know that they could take anybody in a kind of a vacuum, right? Of one series looking at it and take it down. For me, consistency is one of the most important things when looking at this next split as well. And I think that's got to be showcased here, against their next opponent, is displaying that Space Station Gaming, much like the major event where they got the same results, isn't just like a fluke or a one-time ordeal.
This is a team that we've talked a lot about how much they've matured, but they've also, I mean, let's just call it spade a spade. They just got better. Like Alpine, they've just gotten better. More time in the gym, playing more hours, and up against consistently. Listen, last time around the grid, we just played energy every single time. That's gotta you gotta get better off of that type of practice.
Yeah,
and I think they have.
That's why it's really nice to see them stay together as a roster. I think coming into this split, a lot of people would have said, even I had mentioned it, on the RLCS pre-show. I think they were like, which team do you think will make a shuffle? And I had mentioned, I don't think Alpine's going to make a shuffle. But if I was a top tier team looking to pick up some young guns or some people or players, you could grab to increase your team, maybe get rid of somebody who might be weighing you down a bit, it would be somebody from the Alpine roster. You could pick any 3 of these guys. It would explode. But the fact that they've stayed together, they're building their chemistry, you're only going to get more and more results like this.
I was most nervous about that during the off season. I was sitting here like, dude, I love this Alpine team. Please don't. Esports.
I mean,
please don't.
I can't speak to who or anything else about the details of this, but that did happen. There was interest in finding people to be able to try and make a transition towards the roster. But again, clearly, we sat on the side of sticking with the boys.
Which speaks more too, especially if you have the option, you have the opportunity. Even if you're a player, I think that means more. Like, say, you're teaming with, I don't know, if I'm teaming with Percy, Percy gets picked off or tries to get, somebody else tries to pick him up. Essentially, he comes to me assuring me that he'll stay together. We've got that bond, we've got that chemistry. It just elevates your consistency and how you feel about each other as teammates. So I think that's a great choice. And now I'm excited because, Dread, you're right. They've got to continue the consistency. We don't want it to just be a one-off against SSG, get the better seeding, and then move forward going into playoffs, which is awesome to see.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be able to see them here, especially, with Rogue coming off of what was a win against the United. So clearly with the changes that Rogue has made as a roster, I think it's hard to, especially not seeing the games, be like, it's the same team. But clearly it's not looking too negative if you aren't dropping a game against the United right out the gate. So what Alpine is going to be able to do there, I think, again, is continuing down that consistency mark and being able to prove themselves there.
I think shifting the focus from Alpine to our next opposition, Rogue here. First killer, turn Turo, and Taroko. My biggest question mark here. So Taroko is, I agree. Taroko is a guy that never apologized for the doggy ever. In fact, more dog is acceptable.
The more, the better.
That's my whole point. No, Taroko, he's a twos player with Mektos. That's and I'm being I'm slighting him a little bit. He is looked fantastic on Plot Twist, but that's his claim to fame, so to speak.
Yeah,
Mektos is twos teammate, and Mektos is Taroko's twos teammate. They're both very, very good. My biggest thing is, how is he going to play on a new roster without Mektos next to him? Like, that is at least a question mark at the very least that you've got to ask coming into this one.
It's really tough because I'm looking for leadership too, from both of these players. On either side, I think we look at who's going to come in with maturity. We've got first killer turn Taroko. I think Taroko and Turo are both 17, and then you got first killer, obviously one of the young guns, 15. I mean, these guys, They've got to have good leadership with them, and I think Kronovi brought that element, maybe not the mechanics. So coming out here, I think a good start for Alpine is key to getting the series win, because once you can already, I guess, deplete the energy of Rogue that is having confidence whether or not they're coming off from a 3-0 against E United, it's all about that first game and making them doubt themselves one bit, because they might not have any plan of controlling it.
I think that's a
Very
really
true.
good point. Like I hadn't really considered that when looking at that roster change on the Rogue side of things, but I do think the leadership and again that kind of mental maturity is something that may be taking a hit with that, right? I think
Yeah.
probably nobody
Mhm.
has. Honestly, I don't know him personally, but I'd be willing to say that very few players in the Rocket League scene have as much mental fortitude and kind of leadership traits as
Yeah.
Kronovi has. I mean, purely from his career alone, he has done some very impressive things that I think inevitably show he is comfortable with the struggle and the challenges presented and finding ways to overcome them.
I agree.
I guess I think, you know, with Kronovi kind of out of the picture, First Killer is still, it's Turinturo, right? Like he's got to be the guy that you're looking towards to be a little bit more of the de facto leader on the squad, you know? I mean, at the end of the day, it's Gabe, but he's
Yeah.
the coach. When you're on the field, who are you looking towards to be? Because First Killer,
Exactly.
I think, is too fresh to be the guy. Taroko new to the roster, so by default, it's got to be Turinturo, and he's still kind of green. So
When
I
and there's different play styles too that'll match more of a leadership role. Sometimes it's really easy to follow that striker, follow who's ever leading the charge. But I feel like First Killer, he's more of a nuisance in that regard. So whenever he's being annoying or trying to take boost, sometimes he'll get frustrated. And see, I talk about boost. That's what I'm talking. Agreed with me. That's what I like to hear. And for the
yep.
most part, if First Killer's taking boost, being annoying, who's going to be that leader? You're right. It has to be Turo. It has to be, because Taroko, he's already going to be nervous being that new addition. And also, what do you think Gabe's going to be telling them? I would be so nervous if I was Gabe, to be honest.
I would be. I got to say this carefully because I don't think Gabe is happy that you know Crow's gone. But like, if I'm a coach, I think Mystic has one of the best opportunities as a coach.
Oh, yeah.
Right, 3 young rookies, not really like plagued by what their last coach said or what the last people said. You know, just like moldable clay. And so if you're Gabe, you know everybody respects Corrupted G. You're there. That's not going to be a question. And so coming in here with these kind of guys, I think this is a good situation. You're getting, again, you're splitting up to Mektos and Taroko. That is a spot where you can be, all right, Taroko, here's what we do. You know, it's your first time kind of without your homie. Like, this is how we do it here. I think this is an advantageous position for a coach.
Yeah. I agree. It's that moldable clay, which is so crucial, and this is where you start molding it. However, Alpine, we've been perfecting our craft a little bit earlier with Mystic. That's why we're probably going to come out on top. We've got that confidence. The maturity is obvious in our play style. We're going to be taking this one home. I got confidence.
You know, on the note of who's going to be that leader and everything else, I actually think it's, you know, I'm not going to say more profitable necessarily in the short run, but I actually feel like, though I don't know playstyle-wise it would fit the best, I do feel like First Killer has to be some level of that leader and finding ways to be able to put him into that position. You know, he's such a, you put it as a nuisance, you know, the guy tops almost every charts period in all of stats, right? And I mean that for good, for better and for worse at times, depending on like boost consumption and pressure elsewhere. And because of that, I feel like he's got to set the tone for the team mentally and definitely set the tone here in game number 1 with a nice shot.
Real quick, guys, we're having some technical difficulties. First Killer just scores at 4:10 on the clock. We're gonna get the video to you in just a moment. But real talk, I First Killer, you see this in sports, different esports all the time. First Killer, I mean, he's up for he's up for like rookie of the year, right? Like a lot of questions about him. And so with that in mind, you know, First Killer is the type of guy that like, who will he be? He is this strong. You would love for him to be the LeBron type player. For the non-basketball fans, LeBron James, fantastic player. Also fantastic like leadership skills, off the court stuff. But then you have players that are just pure players, have no interest or skill set with respect to like being the leader. And that's fine, but definitely different, like a different lane to be
Yeah.
in, so to speak. So
Well, and it's
I
a
think
lot
for
to
the
ask
team,
of
you
somebody
would,
who's young. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
you just gotta like hope that that's how it's gonna work out, you know?
Yeah, and whenever he is of the age where he just started to qualify to even make it into RLCS and start playing, and now you're asking him to lead the team, to be that in-game man who I guess controls the pitch, gets his teammates a little bit more hyped up, because Gabe can only do so much as a coaching aspect. You have to have somebody on the pitch. That's a lot of responsibility, but I think he can step up to the plate. He's done well so far in this game early on, and now still setting up everybody is Turo, all the way over to Taroko, the newbie, popping off.
Wild.
Yeah, that was even off the back foot of a what was near miracle save in my opinion from Magic Bay there. So really well done here. You know, again, I think Rogue really setting the tone and showing that those changes are for the better, at least for them right now. We'll see if anything.
Will it collapse? You know what I mean? That's the thing that I'm waiting for. It feels like we're playing Jenga. Everybody's pulling out a piece. Eventually, it's gonna crumble.
Yeah, it's who pulls out the bottom piece.
Correct. Yeah.
Kind of dismantles the whole thing.
Here's the big picture question. Why, you know, let's pretend we're GM of Rogue. Why do we move away from Crow? Like, was it just underperformance? Like, because that's what you got to,
Yeah.
you're taking out a piece, you're replacing a piece. So what was the reason, do you think, they moved away from Chronovi?
I think there's a lot of foundation that must, a foundation of trust, I guess, that must be given to Gabe. Because at that point, you're getting rid of somebody who obviously has so much experience, so much veteran play. We just mentioned, you know, having a leader on the team. He fit that role. And now coming out here, you got Gabe, the coach. I think you see a lot of young talent, a lot of young potential. You got to bet on that and hope that Gabe can create and turn them into something special.
That's fair. That's fair. And that's a lot of faith put in corrupted Gabe, which I think is rightly placed. I got a lot of respect for Gabe. He's been in the scene for a long time, and I don't always, by itself, think that like longevity is its own sort of like. You can be in a league for a long time for a number of reasons, but I think that Gabe has always seen moderate level of success. I just think he brings the right sort of attitude to the sport, and I like the idea of him as a coach. So, like I said, I think it's a good opportunity. I'd like to see him do good things for Rogue, just not against Alpine right now.
And the Rogue defense, the dribbles out of the defense for Rogue, I've been amazed with. It doesn't seem like we're putting them necessarily in a situation where they're going to panic, but even if they get faced with a difficult situation, they're dribbling it out, forcing a 50, and waiting on the ball. Look at this. Turo just catches it so carefully, flicks it over. While it didn't turn into possession, it wasted enough time for his teammates to then move in for the next challenge.
I feel like Alpine hasn't had the ball at all.
Yeah, it does very much feel like a 0% in the possession category here.
Yeah.
Which is night and day kind of difference in contrast when looking at the last series. Like even against Space Station, even in like, some of the games where we got beaten, it looked a little bit, you know, worse on our behalf. There was still possession. There were still opportunities. I guess one shows up there. Oh my goodness. Turo with the double save.
Oh, then now, oh my.
No,
now First Killer's going to hit us with this. After the save, they come out, and we overextended, got too aggressive for the goal. Magic Bear tries to get the pass back. Doesn't work out. And the challenge, that's all it takes. One little hit on the defensive side, and that is the result of overaggression.
Well,
feels bad.
That's game one.
Definitely is, and you know, shout out to Taroko there for not actually taking that goal. I'm not sure if he had enough boost to catch up and take it, but I can tell you it would have taken every ounce of my own willpower to not be able to just tap that one in.
But we
What a
ended
shot.
on a good note. We ended on a good note from Jordan. Speaking of the mechanics, I mean, boy, look at this pass out from Percy. This is how you go into the next game. Maybe it'll do something to Rogue. I don't think it will, but you never know.
All right, listen, you two other players, you guys have played competitive games before, right? Like, does that matter? Casters love to come up here and be like, you know, that last hit, they're going to lose, but they're going to lose in a good way. The momentum's going to keep going forward, you know, Bob, and like, is that real, Turtle? Is that real?
From my experience, it's a yes and a no. For Rogue, they don't care. They don't care at all. It's a big gap. Say this was maybe 2-0, they lose 2-1. There's a question in their mentality, but for Alpine, I think it's huge. Just being like, okay, we could break the defense a little bit, whether or not we're taking it seriously. I think subconsciously seeing the fact that you could score in a game where you weren't able to put one on the board, that's a huge boost, whether or not you want to like it or whether or not you want to face that fact.
And I think
Yeah.
my perspective would be, I think as long as it's I think offensively it means a lot more, as Turtle already said. But I actually think how you score it, like that shot specifically, is not an everyday shot, right? Like you don't see the upside down touch to be able to get it just laser to the goal, and that means more than if it just like rolled in because of an offensive overcommitment, right? Because Rogue has nothing to lose at that point. It's how you do it is super significant.
That makes sense.
That's like, did you 360 no scope the kid at the end of the round? Because if so, you're probably going to feel better than him, right? Like there is a level of it, you just disrespected them and it works, and that means something to your ego.
Well, that's all that matters.
Ego is confidence.
Well, let's see how it affects him on the pitch now, because we're looking straw. I was gonna say strawled. Imagine
Strawled.
But I feel
All
like
right.
you
It's
can even
strawled.
see how it's working. A strawled. That sounds like
A
if you were to
strawled.
mix a straw with something else. I don't know what else it would be, but some
Wow.
kind of contraption. You know what I'm talking about?
No,
See,
I don't.
Somebody's got to finish that off. That thought has got to be good.
I had like a scarecrow's cup there, like a literal straw lid was what I had.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
I was thinking the organization, the Astralis. You know, like
Okay.
in Australia, you guys say Astralis.
I like how me stumbling on my words and creating one myself has simultaneously created like alternate realities that we all put ourselves in for those 5 few seconds.
Oh man, welcome to the stream, guys. If you're just joining us with ALPINE Esports, exclamation point merch in the chat. You know, speaking of which, I wanted to bring this up actually, but after we deal with this. So I think once we get back to lands, remember lands?
I don't, but I look forward to that day.
I just dream about them.
What if we had two?
Oh
My. What is
my.
happening? That
Mention
backboard
land.
touch.
He went up. Look how early he went up. Look how early first killer went up for that. Like he saw that in the tea leaves.
Even if he's not leading the charge in comms, just seeing that as he's your teammate hitting that shot, you're already hyped up. You already have confidence moving forward because you know the mechanics are on your side.
First killer. I mean that's
Wow.
okay.
They're relentless.
And see that this is worrisome to me because this is what Alpine has always had trouble with. These like long. That's not really transition, but like that's like a full court play, you know.
Yeah.
When you saw the insane defense we had when Space Station was just shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting, and we were blocking and blocking and blocking and blocking. That's almost harder, it seems. And Alpine kind of has that on lock. But when it comes to the longer range stuff, that is where Alpine kind of like collapses a little bit.
I feel like when I note that the most, I feel like it comes out of specifically touches towards the ceiling. And understandably, those are, in my opinion, some of the hardest shots to be able to read. But I feel like when you see the pressure and it's not just along the entire field, like a standard, goalie defense to pressure to somebody on the wall into a transition goal, it's more of the aerial into opting out of the shot, out of the easy pass and looking for the pass through the ceiling that causes that level of hesitation, and things seem to kind of deteriorate on Alpine's side most.
Oh, lovely
Great
work
job
from
slowing
Frank.
that down.
Yeah, this is composure at its finest. Magic Bear to the pop out. He actually turned on the backboard. I didn't see that, but Magic Bear rotated back. You saw him almost do a 360 to get around into a better position, pop it out to Percy, who then went for a controlled aspect. That's two fantastic decisions, all within 5 seconds that led to a goal.
Loop to loop. Me too.
Yeah, he's just grumpy Gus today,
I mean,
No, he's
it was good
chiming
timing
in.
though. It was after he saw the pop off from Magic Bear. Here we
Good
go.
old podcast, just get involved. We love to see it.
Jordan
Nice
with the
carry by
flip
Jordan.
reset.
Why didn't Magic Bear go up there?
I think most of the time, as a player, when you see somebody go for a flip reset, usually it's easier to just be like, he's got it himself. I'm gonna drop off for a little bit, and then to Roko, the capitalization, nice little transition game. Rogue, man, these guys, I didn't expect much coming in here. I really didn't know how to feel about that roster swap, but this has impressed me.
Same. Yeah, I'm impressed. Again, though, that's I think lesser teams do that to Alpine. You know, that transition, like look for the boom. Rogue seems to have downloaded and are doing that. They're not looking to like slow it down, get control, walk to the goal. They're like, dude, just boom it. Maybe they'll miss it. Like, it's working. It's working.
And well, then you've got First Killer, who seems to have been unleashed. I don't know if he was hesitating more with his rotation, but he's got so much confidence. Every time he goes up for the ball, he's hitting some incredible mechanic. I don't know why we didn't see this early with Kronovi. Sometimes it's a fresh roster swap that starts activating players who are already amazing.
He reset on his first touch. Yeah, no, he reset, changed the direction, double tap, dodged into it, and just, I mean, I don't even have words. That's one of those shots that it's what we all aspire to do in our own games, and then proceed to run out of boost, float in the air next to the ball, and just remember that we aren't them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, my goodness, that was a shot.
Yeah, that fifth one, that goes in. Yeah, cool. You won the kickoff. But that fourth one was. I'm with you. I'm with you, Turtle. Like, unleashed First Killer. Maybe, you know, there's a lot of reasons for it. Maybe you can be like a negative Nancy and be like, maybe Kronovi was too, like, you know, old man yells at Cloud and say, like, be mental. Or you could look at it the other direction where, like, First Killer felt, you know, I got to do things right. So that
I agree. I think a lot of it stems to the pressure that was placed on him. If Kronovi comes onto your team, oh, I've got this amazing veteran coming here. I've got to sit down, understand all that he has to offer. Maybe at what point did it feel like it was just, you know, a rotational issue where the styles were meshing and First Killer didn't know how to communicate that. So instead, with Kronovi being off the roster, he's kind of unleashed to do whatever he wants with the canvas.
That's the thing, and I say it incessantly. I don't care what game you're playing. Like, there's like what you're supposed to do, and then what you do, you know, correctly. Like, and identifying your approach to the game. Playstyle is usually a dirty word in competitive gaming, but like your approach can be different than what the textbook says and what the veterans say, and it can be really hard to like accept that sort of thing, you know, and like without the old dog on the team, maybe, you know, like I said, I don't know which direction it came from, but he just unleashed is the best word term. 10 points for that one.
Wow.
Exactly what it looks like.
Gold star, baby. Let's go.
And, you know, even that touch right there from First Killer off his own backboard is a level of game sense that was super crippling. You could tell we had no way to figure out how to really comfortably deal with that situation. Once it was like, wait, the double touch opportunity was denied by Rogue themselves. We're suddenly two men in a corner, and I feel like it's that stuff right now that's kind of separating these two teams. I don't look at this and I go, you know, the new Rogue is going to be the unstoppable force that Alpine will never be able to overcome, but it does feel like it's kind of seeping in, into a, are they going to be able to identify that within this series? At least fast enough, already too deep.
I think this Rogue team is a team that will jump. So previously I looked at Rogue as towards the bottom of the middle, you know, not really looking too hot in all honesty. And I think this Rogue team is going to allow them to really crush the middle of the pack teams, and they'll lose to the high-end squads because they are Taroko and everybody's kind of playing together, but it absolutely is the First Killer show. Like, it's the First Killer show. And like, that is something that I think the high-end teams are able to just sort of deal with a little bit better. And the middle of the pack teams will have to play catch up here.
Yeah.
I don't think it's something like Wade said, I don't think it's something that's completely undoable, but day number one is probably a push.
And I can understand that. I think that's a benefit to Alpine because this is the type of team that you play against, and it makes your mistakes that much more evident to you. So whether or not we noticed it, but, you know, we mistake even the players right now on the pitch, those mistakes and those issues are coming out, and you don't have the excuse of like, it's NRG, we don't know how to deal with these guys. It's crazy pressure, or SSG, and they're crazy options. They're coming out here, and now they know what the issues are. Magic Bear, this squeezing it was just a shot.
No, it's just a dunk, or a little bit of a challenge here.
Wow. Okay. Woo. that happens so much more from the corner than we expect. Like, the amount of times we see a goal that's just a 50 or maybe even a dunk that gets pushed into the net, there's got to be more calculation in terms of where Magic Bear's coming in to go to the left side of the ball, obviously, than the right.
50-50s are something I've never truly been able to understand. They seem like, you know, you can set a protractor in front of me, I'll see the angles, I'll be like, okay, the math adds up to me.
Yeah.
But then in practice, it's always so foreign. It's like, how did that go that direction? Why is that hitting that way? But definitely cleaned up here by Alpine as we get our second shot.
Baby.
Yeah.
This is as I have come into Rocket League, the big mechanical flip resets and musty flicks are cool, but they are secondary to me with my personal like love of seeing those elongated pass team plays. Like if I can look at the game and know the ball's going to go in 6 seconds before it does, that's my favorite type of play. And like that right there, watching Percy air dribble it down, knowing he's got a teammate behind him who's going to be contested, teammate comes through, bounces it off, and the third teammate comes through for the shot. That's what I signed up for, dude.
Well, that's the consistency. That's what breaks down and beats some of the top dogs like SSG. That's what helped us get that win earlier on. You know, we were able to rely on each other and rely on what we're doing on the pitch and where we're positioning ourselves. As Rogue seem to be breaking out a little bit on offense. Our defense getting tested now at this point. Jordan, nice little follow-up. And so far, things much cleaner for the boys in Alpine.
Oh, but that demo.
Oh, I thought it didn't open up that much space. I saw the demo come out. I didn't know whether or not that was the last man back. Maybe somebody was rotating in. Did we get? Oh, that's where it was.
Yeah, we didn't see it.
You just kick flipped over the bad guy. Like, come on.
I got smoke screen, bro.
that was that.
Wow.
Again, it's the first killer show. Like, still a goal lead for Alpine, so you know we're chilling. Maybe not completely chilling. There's a lot of Rocket League to be played, and it is an elimination game, so maybe we shouldn't.
I don't appreciate you sometimes, man. I'm not gonna lie, and this is why. Look at what you've caused. I'm gonna go ahead and blame you for this one. You said it's the first killer show, and this is what happens whenever you continuously compliment him. You already know he's got the screen pulled up. All right, F-Dot? I don't want to hear that.
No, I think it's you saying you don't appreciate me that caused that. You put that negative vibe into the atmosphere. And, you know, yeah. The
Build it into existence.
Yeah. Exactly. Come on, man.
My bad. I'm writing the narrative here, but still, so far, our pressure has equally been matched, I'd say, to Rogue now as we get to the halfway point. Still looking for a bit more, I don't want to say like pizzazz from Alpine, because I do like the simplistic, you know what I'm saying? Like the creative element. That's what we need, bro. We need the ceiling passes that Rogue had. We need somebody like First Killer to step up, because at what point are Rogue going to pick it up on the fundamentals and just completely match us now with First Killer still popping up?
That's fair. And I mean, at the end of the day, I guess it's Magic that we kind of look to like bring the flair.
Yeah.
I'm still deciding if I like the term pizzazz or not.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with a little pizzazz in your step. Oh, what?
No way.
Oh, no. Wait, did one of you think that was a goal? I saw the demo, and I thought the explosion was it.
Dude, the ball was encapsulated in that darker shade. There is no way. Oh, my.
I paid off the refs. Oh. Yeah, I paid them off. It's all good.
That was the best. The timing of that explosion and the demo from when the ball was on the goal line was beautiful. I think that was Jordan, somebody said, just sacrificed his card to save everybody, and it was worth it. We're still tied up, 1 minute and 20 seconds left. Facing match point. Still got to get one.
If I'm Rogue, I've broken my controller. I guess not, because I'm up 2 games.
Yeah, like and you got First Kill on your team too. I don't know about that one.
It feels bad.
It could be what tilts them though. I mean, I talked about leadership. Maybe it's a little play like that that'll get in their head.
Okay.
I mean, it's still important to note that if Alpine can pull this out, that, you know, this Rogue roster is yet to lose a game. And I know that sounds like an immediate compliment, but again, it's like, are they comfortable with the idea of loss? Yeah. Is still yet to be kind of thrown out there. And so I do give Alpine a little bit more kind of percentile of a chance if we find a way to be able to get one in the back of the net here and send it to a game 4.
And that's what happened with Space Station, right? It was 1 and then 2 for SSG, and then we came back with the Spaceman sweep, just like the Bing Bang Boom. So maybe we can do that here.
I like that touch there to be able to send that to the ceiling. Magic unable to confirm the shot. Maybe Jordan will. At least try to take a decent challenge, send it down.
Oh, I like that from Magic. They're trying to get the little pass back, keep possession. You can tell they're being conscious of it. Now the pass out in the middle. No, Percy has the rotation. Okay, nothing too spooky to worry about. Just going to smack this one down, go into overtime. That was a close look for us, but then also on the transition game, we could have gotten caught off.
I was 100% holding my breath.
Yeah.
Nice high bounce.
The past couple of the past minute or so, as soon as I say that, it changes. Alpine have really had that control, that half-pitch type of style they tend to aim for, that slower style, and that's how they find their wins. So
nice pass over to Jordan.
Okay.
Oh my, what a save! Yeah. See if they can hold this off. We still got Percy back. Transition attempt. That is where, honestly, Rogue has been eating us up, I feel like, is when we try to get those passes in the midfield and they proceed to go yoink and just claim the ball for themselves. And then keep the onslaught of the first killer pressure.
I feel like Alpine, sometimes, at least when they're coming out of the defensive end, they'll go for a solo play where they keep it close, go for a nice little touch-up. And with how fast Rogue are moving on the transition and also just rotations in general, they don't care. If you take a solo play, they will challenge you right away, and Alpine are probably expecting them to back off a bit and respect them, and they're getting none of it.
I think that's a good point. Taroka with a decent shot. Able to get the save there for Jordan. I just don't know when this is going to break. Again, getting that challenge in that midfield, gaining control. First killer even finding a demo onto Percy.
But a good deny here, though, right? Like, Percy gets demoed, and it looks like straight up everybody, okay, just keep it neutral, don't let them take the advantage, and Rogue wasn't able to. That sort of intentional gameplay is what Alpine, really milks, and, that's where they look good, is when they're able to play, intentionally and specifically kind of chaos and back and forth and fast transition. That's where they really slouch. That's how Rogue were able to beat us in game 1, game 2, get us off of these big plays, and also first killer beat first killer.
Oh, that's a big hit. They're actually not going to transition. Yeah, if that was a pass there, I think there would have been a lot more opportunity, but denying our boost for that long while also getting that demo, I thought that was a great passing play back.
Oh! You didn't pay the refs enough, apparently, F-Dot. What the hell was that?
Listen, man, I ran out. Oh.
Even earlier, though, Rogue, whenever you were talking about it, Wade, you were exactly right. They were too slow to get out of the midfield. It bounced horribly on the wall, so it's like we paid the refs for the good bounce, but then not for the crossbar.
No, not for the crossbar. Bummer.
There is a bit of a tempo swing, though, I feel like, over this last minute. First killer is going to go ahead and maybe change that for a moment, but it does feel like, the shots are coming on for Alpine, which hasn't really happened in this OT. But first killer with a questionable touch, but Magic Bear wasn't able to close it out.
That's the big thing for me. The entirety of the OT and the last minute of play. This is Alpine's game, where they play. I always call it half court, right? Where they it's more controlled. It's
starvation focus.
I remember asking Turtle straight up if faster was better. If you could be a strong Rocket League player and play slower. And looking at this type of stuff, it's not terrible.
Yeah, without a doubt. I'm also thinking about how things are always changing, especially with the meta. Now this one's slowed down by Jordan. That's gonna pinch in. Somebody's gotta rotate, please. Magic Bear. How does that happen? Who paid the refs now?
I think that had to do with a little bit of communication. Honestly, it's hard to be able to communicate that out, but that touch goes off the ceiling. Magic Bear tries to go for the catch, identifies Jordan's there for the pass, tries to launch it out, but Jordan didn't realize the catch was coming through, so he's already pre-jumped. So then Jordan has to try and then aim a little bit lower, right, to be able to get a solid connect there. And at that point, he's already burned enough time that Rogue's able to contest and challenge us out.
Well,
It's all good.
we wanted to know what Rogue looked like.
We got the answer now.
The answer's pretty good.
That's what they
Yeah.
look like.
I still think that analysis of where they stand in terms of beating the top tier teams versus us, you know, somebody who's kind of middle of the pack, still trying to break in. I'd say, I mean, we're obviously still in the top 8, but I mean, trying to break into the top 4, that S tier category. I still think Rogue, you know, we're not going to see that same performance necessarily against NRG, but against
Agreed.
us, they have been able to exploit our mistakes, and that's some good footage to review if you're anybody on Alpine.
That's the big thing. That is absolutely the big thing that I said in my brain, but I don't think I said out loud, was that in that conversation about like the high end teams and the mid teams, the mid teams will catch up to Rogue, and the reason that thesis is holding water here in my brain is because of the idea that like this is gameplay that you can adapt to. You can watch the tape, you can learn how first killer gets in those positions, and then you can deny them. The top tier teams have seen that a number of times, playing and succeeding against Squishy and Sipical and Rettle and players like that, who first killer like is the next generation of, quite obviously. And I'm not going to do the man a disservice. I think he is going to be one of the big Justins of the league. And so those teams know how to deal with that.
Yeah.
These middle of the pack teams are still learning how to deal with the like level of transcendent talent like that. And this is where Mystic comes into play and goes, all right, let's watch tape for 6 hours. Let's break down why you got scored over by first kill. Let's break down why he was able to do this to you. And like, I mean, Mystic has earned his check every step of the way from me. The guys give him credit as well, which is always, that's how you tell if a coach has been doing it. Casters will always give coaches credit because they love the idea of coaches, because theoretically, if they ever get fired, they'll be a coach themselves in their brain. But like,
you know me
when
so
the
well.
players,
Too real, too soon.
Or to become a caster possibly. Maybe that's why we're all casting.
but when the players, hey man, those that can't play cast, right? But when the players give the coach credit, that's when you're like, oh, okay. And every time we talk to these guys, I think we'll get a chance to talk to the guys after their next match as well. You get that. They give credit to Mystic. So I'm should be fun.
One interesting thing in talking to them a little bit more, kind of off camera, would be how much they're willing to respect that there may be benefits as well from him being a European coach. I think that's something that people kind of overlook, and it's something that I actually see a lot of value in Rocket League and really in esport, because the cultural difference in play style is like North America has what I'll call kind of a twang, right? Like we have that superstar element in a lot of factors, and we want to do
Ball
that
chasing.
just naturally. Yeah, you could say ball chasing. I was trying to keep it more positive, but
no. I was
in the calculated team effort that you typically see from Europe in Rocket League and any other esport is something that, you know, a hybrid of the two might be a better kind of outcome, and finding a way to dull down the blade of North America with some of the logic of Europe is something that I think is really benefiting the roster.
Always worth looking at the combination of the two different things. All right, that's one down in our favor, one down in their favor. One more match lies in front of us. We're going to come to a brief break, and we'll be back with the grid on Alpine Esports.
making me realize everything we've been through makes us strong enough. You and I, you and I. Everything we've been through makes us strong enough. You and I, you and I. All I wanna do is to put my arms around you and watch these moments fall back into place. All I wanna do is to make you stop and love me. How can I be blue when you catch me in these feelings like okay. I love you, I do need you, I do love you, I do need you. I love you, I do need you. Oh, I love you, I do need you. Oh, I love you, I do need you, I do love you, I do need you. I love you, I do need you. Oh, I love you, I do need you.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's F. Dot at the grid, joined by Turtle and Mr. Wade, Dreadnaught, Penfold. And we are 2 games into our 3 games round robin. But right now, we don't have a game. United has to keep beating or, playing against Space Station Gaming because that's our next opponent. We're going to go to a break screen and we'll be back. Spam Cat Jam in the chat. Also, exclamation point merch in the chat as well. Make fun of Turtle because you can't catch him. We'll be back after this. Cat Jam.
Okay. I love you, I do, I need you, I do, I love you, I do, I need you. I love you, I do, I need you. Oh, I love you, I do, need you. Oh, I love you, I do, need you, I do, I love you, I do, need you. I love you, I do, need you. Oh, I love you, I do, need you. Came from a broken home. I've seen so many people go. Learn to make it on my own. It's easier for me to be alone. So how are you? Keep cutting through. Claiming you're not like the other guys. And only if I could give you a chance. tout de même de montrer tes efforts. I'm trying to keep my heart in peace. I just can't think but the way that I feel. It's too hard to trust. I mess it up. I just can't risk to be falling like this. Oh, ooh. Why do you keep chasing clouds? If I could change my mind.
Believe it or not, we're back. It's F-Dot, it's Turtle, it's Mr. Wade, Dreadnaught Penfold. Turtle.
SSG. They took the dub over EU. This is what we're waiting on. And I am actually a bit surprised because SSG, was this an L for them to go up against us? Would they bounce back? Apparently against E United. I think that validates our win a little bit more. Don't you agree?
Mm-hmm. I do. E United is also 0-2 on the afternoon, Dreadnaught. I mean, this I'm not gonna put, I'm not gonna be overly excited, but I mean, gotta feel good about going up against the bottom team, huh?
Yeah, I think the only thing that lets me immediately like pause and not have blind confidence would just be I think Tristan is still a surprising element. Like he as
Yeah.
a player is someone who you have to respect and kind of look out for. He has made the transition from organized solid Rocket League in the CRL to the professional like region really, really well.
Yeah.
And I think that is honestly a testament to his skill level, number one, but number two, that this team is still growing, which has me a little bit intimidated. But definitely, it does look like, at least today so far, that we should feel pretty good going into this.
I have a lot of fear of Ajax because ever since Hoxer got dropped, Tristan came onto the roster. Ajax has gotten so much more space to work with. He has turned into this monster. Usually, whenever he's on the Batmobile, that's when I'm the most scared of him. But he has been popping off like the early days of E United when they made it to LAN, when they started showing up on the world stage. And I think he's gotten that same performance and he's brought it back with the extra space, which has allowed them to move so much more fluidly as a roster. Meanwhile, on the other side, Alpine Esports, a little bit of a similar situation, but we just have the little bit more consistency behind our name, which is why you got to give us the edge, at least when you're comparing them, but you still fear E United.
Last night, Tristan. So I also jump around on the CRL, the College Rocket League, and that's Tristan was brief history. Tristan was the guy in CRL, made the transition to RLCS pro level play with E United, a lot of question marks, and he smacked all those question marks out of the air. We see him last night in like one of the last matches of the regular season up against the team of Noxes and basically a pro-am team that happens to play on this in the CRL because that's the way the cookie crumbles, right? And they are the better team. Tristan ran circles around them, like by himself. The team looked good, but it was the Tristan show, without a doubt. Very much like that last Rogue matchup we watched where First Killer was doing it. Tristan has gotten better with his time in the RLCS, which I think is obvious. You're spending time in faster lobbies, you're going to improve. And that's what scares me about this team. Wonder Mike also my favorite player in the rival series last season.
Okay.
I really enjoyed watching this kid kind of play and jump up and him next to Tristan, just like two like unleashed young rookie talent, like no one to tell him what to do, or like Ajax is there and Ajax is rediscovering himself, like you said, like just kind of coming back into it. I think these guys are like, nobody's going to tell us what to do. They're 0-2 on the day, and that's rough. But like you said, Wade, it's hard to completely say like, forget them when that's the team. So
yeah, and I think I fear anybody who can prove that they can evolve. Because I think it's easy, like Tristan can get good and dominate CRL and then try and go into the pro scene, and you expect him to get a little bit better. But the rate at which he's grown and been able to show that development is, for me, the most impressive and like important thing in that roster. Just out of the fact that it's not easy to look at yourself every single day and go, I could have done better than the day before it. And to do that with multiple tiers and not let your ego get in the way, I think, especially just judging by being in CRL age group, can't be too high on the spectrum, right? Maybe a little bit old for Rocket League, but still, I think that is the one thing that really stands out to me, and I will always give a lot of respect to from him as a player.
And old for Rocket League in the moment, like. So you got to be 15 to be in RLCS, and a lot of the young kids come in here doing their thing, but like Justin's not going anywhere. Squishy's not going anywhere. And so like we're just going to see, the average age raise as these players just get older, and so seeing CRL like age players 21, 22, like we're going to see the scene get older as the scene gets older. Like they're not going to retire because they turn 20. You know what I mean? And so it's going to be fun kind of watching the intermingling of like all these different like yeah, dude, you're 25, squishy muffins later down the line. How are you going to deal with a 15-year-old
Well,
rookie
now
on
there's
your
like
team?
a route now, which is interesting because before I think the route was going into rival series, then trying to push into RLCS. But even then, as a player, as a casual player trying to look to be a professional or at least have a chance, you're
Mhm.
looking at the rival series and you think that's too much of an obstacle. How am I supposed to get myself in there? But then if you go through CRL, that's already a connection. Maybe you're going to school, maybe you have some connections there. That's great practice. Tristan was able to ride that wave, continue forward, make it into the RLCS, which is a huge feat. So to be that representation, like you said, Wade, not get a little bit too arrogant, still be out here trying to improve on the grind constantly. I think that says a lot about his team and where all three of them are going to go.
Yeah, I
Tristan's
very much
funny
agree.
too. Tristan,
Is he?
Tristan, yeah, Tristan. So every time we do interviews with the CRL guys, every time you interview Tristan, all the lights are off,
Oh, yes.
and this is how he answers the questions every
Wait, are
single
you
time.
serious? I've never seen him
Yes,
answer a question. This is really how
every
it is.
single time. And like, it's not even because I asked him, I was
That's
like, yo,
amazing.
man, you came through with this like late game. It was just sick. How did it make you feel? And he was like, I think that was the loudest I have ever screamed. Ever.
Okay.
Like, and he just owns it, and he ends every single interview in the CRL. We always go like, you want to give shout outs to anybody at home? He goes, yeah, shout out the world, shout out LeBron, shout out my Twitter. Thank you.
Oh, let's go. That's what I like to hear.
He's so funny, and like there's no way he's like that in you know what I mean? But he like has his persona. He was like, all right, people are gonna hate the fact that I'm jumping up to the pro league from the CRL. I'm the bad guy. Lights off. Yeah, we did it. Yeah, I think and like so we asked him a question like the other team mentioned that they were like respecting you a lot, you know. How does that make you feel? Because he's always like, oh, I'm so disrespected. He's like, well, I feel disrespected because they don't put respect on my teammates' names. And like he knows how to be the heel, you know. Like I think that's dope. I want to see that whole
It
package from
translates too on the
players.
field.
So.
I mean, maybe that's what E United needed in the shift because there has without a doubt been a shift in the E United brand with the roster, with everything that we've seen from them. It went from a team that we saw continuously drop games and series, not meet our expectations all the way. Now where we see them back on the rise. That's difficult to do for players. So that's why
Mhm.
there's concern here going up against them. And in terms of I guess play styles and how these two teams want to fight off against each other. I'm trying to figure out who's going to be the highlight player from E United. We talk about Tristan a lot, but is it more of a three-man roster move or is it just individual players like we've talked about now?
I think my hot
I
take would be it's Ajax actually.
really
Yeah, I
I like
think
that.
Ajax. I think Ajax, like you were talking about, with the space that it feels like he's been given
Yeah.
over time, that he's kind of refining himself. Like I think every player, like most of the players at this level of echelon, like the roster has people who can pop off, but I have faith that he's going to become a more consistent threat. And I think the only reason that wouldn't be the case is if the roster decides that playstyle wise, maybe he needs to
Mm,
fulfill more of that third man, right? Whether or not we agree that should exist or not. I think it would be a more team choice if that's the case. But even then, probably being standout in that front.
yeah.
I feel it's like a 2-1 type scenario. I think
Okay.
the guy, if you will, like whatever terminology you want to use, is both Tristan and Wonder Mike. And they'll kind of share that. And Ajax is the one facilitating both of them. I think we see some really cool acrobatic stuff out of Wonder Mike and Tristan, and all of it comes off of great passing plays, great space denial, great area control from Ajax. And I
Yeah.
think that's how if I'm looking at United, that's kind of what I want them to do. And then maybe they play a completely different play style. And as a coach, I back up and I go, okay, dude, do whatever you want. But I think like that's the blueprint that I approach the game
Yeah.
with if I'm talking to United there. So like I don't know, there's a lot to really break down there. As far as Alpine is concerned, looking across the way, I think that Tristan will be matched by Alpine isn't afraid to like challenge you in the air. They're not afraid to like jump for the 50s. Like we see this. We saw it against Space Station and it led us a win there. So
Yeah.
I think we're going to be able to challenge them where their strengths lie. I think it's a better matchup than Rogue, even if E United might be a better team than Rogue. I think this is a better matchup for
Yeah.
Alpine Esports.
I'm still trying to get over the recent loss against Rogue. While it was a 3-0, and while we did get pretty much annihilated in one of the individual games just by the scoreline alone that we had to overcome, it was a weird loss because I don't feel as though we were just absolutely failing on all fronts on the defense, in the midfield possession game, and also on the offense. So, Dredd, I'll throw you another question because I'm interested actually how you view a lot of these games, because coming not necessarily from the origins of Rocket League, it's fun to see how you have grown, obviously, as an analyst, but with your knowledge of the game, because everything you've said so far has been spot on. I'm not even just saying that. But I want to know, from that loss, what would you take from it, and where do you think we need to excel specifically, not just as a whole?
I think it is there's two major factors that I see when looking at that last series. Is like, yes, we are comfortable taking a fast player and getting the unique challenges, the pressure, and maybe I'm going to say the general contest where we need it to exist up until a point. And it's when you hit the pace of like a first killer or a Justin that we were kind of talking about before, that we recognize we aren't always able to contest. And rather than have blind faith in doing it, that's when we take a minute and kind of hold ourselves and really don't actually get the challenge that maybe we would need in those situations. So I think one, it is whether or not Tristan, for instance, or One to Mike in this situation are fast enough to be able to be of the echelon that we're afraid to approach it. And if that happens, I think that's like something that causes not that fact in and of itself is too detrimental. It's more the misplays that come after trying to adjust to that player. And usually we're not always on the same page. And I think the second one, I talked about it in the series, and I still think it holds true. I actually think verticality on aerials is something that throws us off. It causes us to hesitate. And even that last goal that went against us was due to a touch off of the ceiling. And then what are we doing after that point? And it's whenever somebody decides to take the ball upward and be selfless with it and not look for the immediate double tap, not look for the big play themselves, but they're comfortable using that. Is there a formal term for not just the ceiling or the backboard, but that unique curve that can enforce like a deep drop, right? Whatever that lip is, like any player who knows how to play that well, gonna make us panic. And so I think if Tristan looks less towards can I double tap this and looks more towards, hey, have you ever seen me hit this lip and in the ceiling? That's when I don't think that itself will be the killer, but I do think it causes us to go, who's going to challenge this now? Who's going to get this out of our half?
Yeah. And I like that perspective because a lot of times you'll see in Rocket League, especially myself as an analyst, sometimes you'll like, I get too focused on one specific topic so much that I completely ignore the rest. Like, for instance, I didn't even think about, I've seen people use the ceiling, but I've never had a thought personally just to be like, okay, this is working. Why don't we abuse this? Why don't we abuse the ceiling more? I always viewed it as like a one and done deal, but in actuality, you can just constantly keep slamming things off the top of the ceiling instead of focusing so much on the backboard, which is what Rogue were doing. And I agree with you wholeheartedly, because how are you supposed to counter that whenever you're on the backboard expecting that touch the whole time?
Yeah, and me being the pleb that I am, not very good at the game itself, but way too many hours. And like what I see in those situations is like even if you get a bad touch, even if that doesn't lead to a pass, right? If you hit that slow, what do you draw out of the defense? You buy your team more time to be able to transition upwards. They're still in a position to threaten whatever challenge comes through. Defensively speaking, everything you do, you have too much verticality, game forward momentum. You can't boom that back. So even your touch has to lead to a pass, which you're buying time for your team. Like whether it's fast into an immediate shot or slow into an accidental one, that is one of the most forgiving touches you can do in the landscape of Rocket League. You're not only enabling yourself, you're enabling the team and a shot opportunity. And that's why, I think that shot in general, or that touch in general, is very threatening in the game. But I think our roster in general seems to not necessarily always nail the response.
Underlooked.
Is there a name for that sort of concave?
There's several things you could call it. I mean, maybe there's one that I'm unaware of. I just call it the top corner, the dip. A lot of people, I know Wavepunk calls it the waterfall shot or the waterfall hit, because you hit it off the ceiling and it just trickles down a little bit, and that's so difficult to read with how it doesn't really stand out in a stadium. You know what I mean? Like when you see that go up, it's kind of clear. You don't know if it's 100% going to bounce straight down. You can't remember it. As we jump into the game here, it's going to be difficult.
And I think the biggest thing to point out there is oh wow, a nice shot there. But it's not texturized. It's not only is it visually, it is visually significantly farther in your field of view to be able to get the read on whether or not it's going to impact it. But then texturally, it is also a lot harder, and it meshes in with the background. So because of that, the read and the play around it is a lot slower. And as I said, I also think the ability to gain momentum, if you aren't playing the backboard, there's no way to get that ball out for free. It's a high boost cost no matter what.
I would be interested to see I've never thought about this, but there's always people who talk about the video settings, the performances, and like if you want high dynamic shadows. I've never even noticed. Does that make a difference in the top corner, like in that waterfall spot, or not?
That's a good question. I'm sorry, I got a little too distracted. I actually don't know whether or not the settings directly impact that. It's just Magic Bear tailing a little bit close on a confident challenge there from Percy.
And that's just frustrating too to deal with, especially after you start off strong. Boom, it's in your face. All your rotations cut off with one solid dump.
Don't love that.
So like that was a night and day example. Tristan had two choices there. He had the flip reset solo play, or he had the ceiling touch, and he opted towards the ceiling play and downward. And I'm not saying that's a misplay, Tristan. I absolutely am not the human being who's good enough at this game to make that call. But I feel like that is the choice that I see that then our team is thrown off significantly.
Yeah.
Like it just send that upward and watch us panic. If you go for the solo play, again, that's something that's more traditional and expected, I feel like, at this point.
One of the I was laughing as soon as we started. First 2 seconds, Tristan demoed Percy, and then 5 seconds later, he demoed Jordan. Like, very intentional stuff there. And I love how Alpine was like, "All right, you're gonna demo us. We'll just score, dude."
Yeah.
What if we just scored the ball? Like,
Or what do you prioritize more? Sometimes you got to make the statement. Who cares about the goal? I've thought if you come out here swinging and you get, 2 demos off the bat, you're already dominant on the field. Okay, it doesn't matter what the score is. 101 of Rocket League. Here we go.
you just said it doesn't matter what the score is, and then you gave us the score.
No,
That was pretty clever. I'm not gonna lie.
I hate you, F. Sometimes, man, that's almost too complicated. See, I had to think about that again. I didn't just realize what you were saying, but it's a slow process for me over here.
Turtle, really aptly named, as we can tell here, chat.
Yeah, come on.
RT90 FP40, right?
Wow. What a save.
Thank you, Wade.
Oh
man.
my. That was
Half a game.
that was very clutch coming up from Jordan. Generally speaking, a lot of control coming up from E United here in this game. Not nearly, and there's that touch I was talking about before, but not nearly as much kind of dictation, if you will. That's a stretch on the side of Alpine to really set the tempo here.
I don't think that's a stretch. I like that terminology. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
I immediately understand what you mean, because especially like knowing that that's what Alpine like to do. I will say, I think Alpine lost last series in transition, and this games that look like this, Alpine usually trail by 4 points. Like full pitch type stuff is not where Alpine does well. And so this is a positive look here, especially after the road series.
Oh,
Well,
the
that's
midfield
not the
passing.
positive.
This is Ajax at its best whenever he's given space. Look, we mentioned it before. A lot of times with Hawkster, he wouldn't get that space handed to him. Now he has a decision to make. Does he go forward, go for a solo play, which he can hit himself, or go for the pass? Most of the time, he's not even being that aggressive on the previous roster. That's what happens when you give an underrated player a little bit more space, and he's utilizing it.
Yeah, and it looks really good here for them so far. I don't even know what I feel like from an offensive perspective I would like to see different here from Alpine. Percy gets a pretty good carry there, but it just feels like a lot of what we'd seen in the last series, where it's just struggling to totally understand what they want to do. Let's see if they clean it up here at all. I feel like if we're going to see a big shift in this series, it's likely out of Jordan. Again, I feel like he's a huge indicator on where the team's at on a confidence level. And not taking away anything from him, I think it's truly a team thing, but he is the most apparent symptom, if you will.
Yeah, sure. Well, he's almost the bridge between both worlds, as this is a quick little counterattack there from Wonder Mike. Solid looks so far from both teams. It's a bit far out in terms of where the shots are coming. Percy now the carry. Overall, I think the shot placement has always been solid, but Still waiting on more possession where we can starve out our opponents.
I liked that approach where we had, 3 players coming down almost in like a formation type deal. This could tie it.
Oh, the drop down.
Whoa, too wide.
We take those. We take those, though. Okay, this was
We
not
lost.
a
We
game.
don't take
I
those.
know,
They
but this
take
was the
those.
game that we don't reflect on a little bit poorly, okay? I still think overall, whenever we're trying to find vision on the field, it's solid. In terms of intention, where we're going after that, I'm not sure if we have that all planned out, but the fact that we can connect the passes, we just need to build on that factor.
Okay. All right.
And I
don't
think they
disagree.
can, breathe a little bit easy knowing that, I mean, the passing play in the midfield, you could argue maybe somebody needed to be up to challenge that. But even then, like defensively speaking, both of those players had to basically just guess, right? Like,
Yeah.
where do I think he's going to shoot? Both were in a decent position, drop a backflip, and he still snipes it by. Like, that's a goal that, I mean, it sucks. Any goal against you does, right? But I feel like that's when I'm more prone to being able to just let slide. We did our best based on the panic circumstance we found ourselves in. And that was the game winner, right? So maybe there's a world where things are recoverable in the remainder of the series from a mental standpoint.
And even that first goal was like, I mean, Magic Bear was cheating up a little bit, but like that, I call those goals okie dokes. Like, all right, man. Yeah, that happened. Like, it didn't happen because you are bad. Like that sort of thing, like, yes, theoretically you're able to eradicate those, but like, that happens, man. And so I think if you're looking at that sort of like play, it's not that big a deal. You can kind of like bump and roll and look for different things like that. With the follow-up, come on, boys.
Percy actually got bumped there too, tried to recover midair. Really good bump. Like you could see, I believe it was Jordan was in position to possibly take it, realized that Percy had a better approach to it, ended up giving it over to him, and if it weren't for that bump, likely going to see probably a flip reset with that high and slow of a touch. So really well done by United. But a little bit more pressure here, and a little bit closer to that starving gameplay that we've been alluding to.
Yeah. I think that's the classic Alpine move with most of their touches. It's always been about keeping the pressure, and I think that does come down to Mystic as Magic Bear. Okay, off the backboard. Where did this come from?
I didn't
Nobody
even see this
saw this
one
come.
develop. Okay.
That's an angle too.
Yeah.
I like the
No.
feathering of the boost as well, to fall into that shot, reading the corner. We mentioned the waterfall spot on the top, but also in the corners, there's no texture really with where things are going to start turning in. You're a little bit confused on where that ball might bounce out, and sometimes you just get unfortunate bouncing. And now Tristan, the counterattack, nice little give and goes, and they're slotting these passes in between our defense.
I mean, shout out to him taking it low too. He has the opportunity to try and bump that upwards, and you saw the pre-jump to try and save that, but really good kind of bamboozle play there from Tristan. And I think that's, we talked a lot about his growth, but that's that kind of play that's netting him the goals at even the professional level, is not taking what would be the clean, powerful shot that likely a CRL player might struggle with, and just really just being cheeky with the ball.
Does he always play the Dominus?
Wait,
Tristan?
Magic Bear? Or who are we talking about?
Tristan.
I believe so. I have seen him on Octane. The first time I saw him pop off in RLCS was with the Octane, but I think he's been playing Dominus a little bit more recently, which I think is a great fit. I think any striker on the Dominus is usually a good call.
I love alternate cars. Like if Octane Fennec is like the go-to, give me
Yeah.
something different. I love to see, and I think I think that's the like MOBA guy. Like I like the idea, and no, it's not. I just like specialization. Ocean's 11 is a great movie. I like that sort of thing. Like you're good at this, so you use this tool. Like you talk about strikers using the Dominus. Like Tristan will come down here with these like insane air dribbles and flicks and like
Oh, Jordan?
he empowers himself.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about, especially with the flatness of the car. And now the ground pinch. Somebody was getting bumped in net,
It was
trying to
Magic.
recover here. Yeah, Magic Bear. Somebody was struggling to find any ounce of comfortability, and he just got hit out the way.
Yeah, Ajax double bumped that. Sent him flying all the way back to the goal, and even when he tried to recover, still got a second touch on him.
Again, it's Tristan and Wonder Mike are both the guys brought to you by Ajax. Like, he's getting physical, he's opening up these passes, and that's who I'm always impressed with. Looking at the facilitator, I love that sort of thing. So, impressed by Ajax, who's reinventing himself essentially, right? I mean, how many years has he been this established player doing this established thing, and now he's got the opportunity to like be the old man on the team, if you will.
Yeah.
Like that's a whole different identity for him.
It's one of those things that we've been waiting for this opportunity. As Alpine's still struggling with possession game. I haven't seen them slot into the starvation role that they want to create so badly. I'm not sure if that's causing desperation on the field to push up and be a bit more aggressive, or maybe it's just them panicking a bit, but they seem slightly on edge when it comes to the rotations and a bit finicky whenever they're making decisions.
I'd agree with that, and it does feel like I don't know, it's just being very responsive to a lot of the game here at hand, and definitely not working in Alpine's favor. The double tap, not going to connect there. Almost a triple tap. The touch over could be a shot on. Percy's at least there to be able to knock it out. But without having anybody else to really cleanly follow up on this, we're still just going to receive tons of pressure here. Maybe a moment there with a mistouch. Yep, going to clean it up.
Nice. 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 I'm amped because this last like minute and a half was just sloppy from both squads. Like United kind of like had the ball but was just continually dropping it, and we were finding defensive moments but really just kind of 50% defensive moments, 50% kind of getting lucky from bad takes, and then there we score off of a weird bounce. You know what? Yeah. It's tied to 2. We're good. That's the type of like you need to break those like, moments.
And how do you break moments where they're moving so smoothly in the corners and also in the midfield? You see that pass out from Tristan to Wonder Mike. Nobody from Alpine is on the backboard trying to get an interception, trying to get a touch. Finding ourselves in very uncomfortable situations on defense. We need to maybe spread out a bit more on the field. I think that would benefit a lot with the passes that United are going for.
And I feel like that started due to a boost, and I want to say it was from Wonder Mike. And this is something I've noticed. It seems like it's becoming more prominent of a play style, at least in North America, which is the feel comfortable to move past the offense. Defense trust you will buy the time and deny their boost. And if you get any touch the other way, you're already a boost up on the opponents. And I feel like that's what set it to where there was no response on Alpine's side. By losing that one big pad in the corner, nobody had the boost to try and get the challenge. Tristan got the passes.
2 in the pocket. Oh. Okay.
I just want to say that we started in a best of 5 against SSG, and by winning that, we were like, that's got to be the tone for the day.
That's all of it.
And then it's looking rough, I said in a vacuum, Alpine, I think everybody can say that Alpine likely challenges every, other roster in RLCS, but it's the consistency we're looking for. And, I don't want to take away any credit from the other 2 rosters. Like United is playing very, very clean here. But it does feel like that consistency is a miss on Alpine's side.
It's been a frustrating day. I think I keep watching a lot of these series, looking to break down a lot of elements for Alpine and where they're trying to position themselves. But a lot of times it's almost like I don't have a lot of content to work with because, yes, they have simple rotations that will work and will fit in, but it seems like none of them want to push up a little bit more and try to add that extra flair that's needed or the pizzazz that you love so much. That word. But there's no extra extension. Like Percy maybe going for a demo on the rotation back, somebody trying to stay on one side, take some boost. Any amount of effort required to open up an opportunity isn't getting taken on Alpine.
They've been real talk, just playing lazy, and like that's the wrong word to use because it sounds like intentional, And I don't think Alpine are intentionally, like I said, I need a better word. Slovenly is probably the better word there. Where it's not, they're not intentionally like, well, we beat Space Station, let's put our feet up and just chill. Like, I think realistically, it's just they're a little slow here for some reason. They're not able to like really bottle that lightning that they had earlier. I think this is more realistic than Rogue. Again, I think United are the better team.
Okay,
out of
okay.
Rogue and them. Nice let go. Nice let go.
And this is what we've been
Let
waiting
Jordan
for.
have that.
Yes,
Yes.
this is what we've been waiting for. Some kind of fake, some instance that'll change the way they're moving down the pitch. And that one was a little bit more of a controlled aspect from Percy. He takes it up, goes for an air dribble, then slows down the final touch just where it's perfect to get around that final defender. We've got an open opportunity, and this is much better from Alpine. Still need a lot to prove ourselves. But I agree. I think this matchup compared to the Rogue one, with how solid Rogue were with mechanics, first killers popping off. Meanwhile, United, more of a team effort, but one that's not exploding in our face. This is definitely managed.
Really like that play too from Jordan and Magic. The nice little dodging of the demo and the pass on the wall just to get it by. See if it nets them more here. It's Jordan with an opportunity. Percy slides that in. My goodness.
And that, you know, that's Percy being the parachute. You see that an awful lot. Jordan
Oh
wasn't able to get like the front angle that you wanted, right? You want that to be a bullet. You just can't find it. And Percy just right place, right time happens all the time.
And Jordan kept boosting to get the dunk over 2 players. He had a mistouch, then used the rest of the boost in his tank, which I'm not sure how much, maybe 30, maybe 2 pads at max. Kept boosting forward, got the dunk on both players trying to rotate out. It bounced over to Percy with an impossible angle and still managed to slot it in. Got some more aggression from Alpine, and the mechanics, things are getting stepped up, and we continue to push the dial forward.
I think the most impressive thing out of that decision from Jordan is, yes, boosting puts him in a grand position and everything else, but I think the lesser player opts towards trying to dunk into the goal, right? He actually air rolled intentionally to send that out to the left-hand side, knowing that Percy was going to be there. I can't help but feel like if you can predict that 50 well enough, my goodness, what a great passing play again. But if you can place that well enough, I mean, you're a different tier of player. But to have the faith that Percy was going to close out on that is huge.
That was the same sort of conversation about the first goal as well. You know, I think it was Percy to, I think it was the opposite. It was Percy to Jordan. And Percy could have kept air dribbling and likely would have gotten denied, but just had the faith that Jordan was going to be able to put it in. So both of our goals. And then the third one, this one a little different. This is just Magic Bear showing up here.
Yo, I respect the dodge here last second from Percy. You're going to see it right there to make sure he gets by the ball. That's an average player's mistake on that pass. 99% of the time you continue boosting through, your teammate gets a great shot, and then you can spam what a save 3 times because you just knocked that one right out.
Yo, and you've also been tilted a little bit off the kickoffs. Ajax, player we talked about, he's been stepping up still, slowly. We can't get a solid kickoff. I don't know. Whenever I look down at the Alpine defense who's rotating back, that's where we struggle. A lot of times we'll get on offense and we'll find a couple of good chances here. I feel like the intention that I wanted before is there now. We know who we're trying to pass to. We know who's going to go for that ultimate shot. But now rotating back, that's where things get a little bit risky. We get panicky even on the defensive side. The kickoff, we didn't know how to handle it.
See if they can make something here, a moment, if that magic 50 goes in their favor, but it doesn't. Now suddenly an opportunity for United. Percy with a good deny, but the 50 not going to be there in time.
That was... Tristan saw this from a mile away. He's just going a zillion miles an hour. He just saw this happening before it happened. That's special.
And while it doesn't look it, that was a 3-man play. I think that Wanda Mike was going for a demo on whoever was rotating out from Alpine. He didn't get a touch or any contact, but the fact that he pushed up into that spot and thought about going for it, he made the last man back rotating. I'm not sure who it was. He made him hesitate a bit, and now they continue the pressure, still going forward. This is the suffocating style that Alpine have always wanted to play, but instead it's United.
At least, between Magic and Jordan there, they were able to get it out. I feel like it's once that mounts up to one more boost spawn, that it leads, and being denied that boost spawn, it usually is going to set up to a goal.
Yeah.
So being able to break out within that time frame, I believe it's 10 seconds, is very, very significant. I think that's something that gets overlooked a lot, at least, when talking about the game of Rocket League, is, when those boost pads are picked up and if you can make a play around those within that window, and just how detrimental it can be with your deny on those bigger boost pads.
That makes sense. That's that next level, is when you're able to really, like, use the word dictate before.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it's most apropos. When you're talking about, like, who can dictate those boosts, and sometimes it's just sort of like errant steals, like I'm here, so where we go, and then you see other teams like really that's their entire game plan, almost more so than setting up shots. The shots will come secondary to their boost denial. Envy is a team that does a really good job of strangling teams out, winning a lot of their games, one goal leads. And that's a nutty angle there for one to man.
It has been an absolute battle. I've just been standing here trying to understand what's been breaking down in front of us. It's been a battle in the midfield where 50s have constantly been taking place. No team has had the upper hand, and then all of a sudden one pops out. We've got a solid angle, like you mentioned. F-Dot, where he's hitting the far right side. The shooting game, can't match it. It was going really well for us in the beginning, but now there's been a shift. Things still going in
Oh my!
I thought we had it.
Jordan, keep in mind, he lost that side boost off the kickoff and still was able to get that. I mean, clearly, one of my coming through, kind of seals the deal here. But my goodness, to be able to commit to that and block that out.
I'm in pain.
Wait a minute, there's hope.
Oh, please.
There's hope. We still got time.
Okay.
We don't have time.
No. Believe. Hello, team?
Believe. Come on,
Do you
man.
not remember
believe.
what happened before?
Oh, close.
I don't want to mention it.
We almost had him. Shout out to United and Brute and all them. They did the damn thing, folks. They absolutely did the thing. They came out and they conquered. United. Impressive, in all honesty. Like, good stuff. Some questions, not as many as Rogue, with respect to how they would do, but I think people are still kind of like looking at this. Tristan is still solidifying himself in a lot of fans' minds. I think for those of us that live and breathe the game and stuff like that, it's a little bit different, but I think it's weird that we beat Space Station Gaming and lost to both Rogue and
I think that's what we're all trying to process right now. So we took SSG to game 5. We were talking about the maturity of the team still popping off, and I still think that applies here. I just against Rogue and E United, teams that typically would be our rivals, and I think we've had a good track record against. There was that extra creative element that we weren't matching them with. There were some good passes. A couple of times we'd see Jordan go up, get a solid look on the field. I think he was the only player a lot of times who was trying to make that extra extension. Like he got the dunk with all the rest of his boost to dunk 2 players. He was getting those crazy passes from the corners out. But other than that, it felt like Percy and Magic Bear couldn't follow it up as much. And overall, as a whole dynamic, we didn't see the same thing. But we did see that against SSG. I'm still happy.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be happy with at least breaking the norm against a team like Space Station Gaming. I think it's still a win to some extent, just how big of one. It's definitely adding some sour to your sweet when looking at the day.
I mean, I look at that Space Station game, and it was all 5. It was not fluke. It wasn't accidental goals. It was a well-earned win. And I'm not Mr. Rogers that says, "Oh, every win is earned." Like, yeah, you get lucky sometimes, dude. And I don't think that was the case this time around. So, like, I'm very. The last question I asked before we go to break, real quick, is there something we said when it comes to like esports, Rocket League? Did Alpine use their juice? Are they less energized after that win for the rest of the 2? Turtle?
No, I don't think so whatsoever. I think with the experience that Alpine has gathered over the past few months, I don't think maybe in the beginning, say this had been grid, in previous format, week 1 of the grid, then yes, I would agree. I think that win on SSG probably would have used up a lot of energy, got our emotions high. We wouldn't really know how to calm them down, and use them efficiently. But as it went on, we've kind of grown our stamina and known when to use the bursts here and there of energy to continuously, use it as we go throughout the tournament. So I would have to say no, but still the results here do speak as though we kind of fizzled out a bit, which is unfortunate.
Word. Well, either way, some impressive games here. Dreadnaught, I'm glad you were able to join us for it.
Yeah, thanks for having
it's been
me.
fun. What's your, how do you feel?
I mean, I feel good. It's a lot of fun. I've wanted to talk about Rocket League for literal years, so it is always a pleasure to be able to do so. Yeah, and it's always exciting to be able to watch the team and see how they perform each and every week. So for me, again, it's a little sour added to the sweet after the SSG series, but consistency, I think, is the next step in evolution on a lot of how Alpine plays and performs. And, this is just one step kind of in that process and learning from it. So don't feel too bad about it. But overall, big dubs on taking SSG.
Yeah, always fun to watch. That's the end of our matches. We're going to come back. I think we have an interview alongside one of the players. We're going to say goodbye to Wade, but thank you so much. I love family businesses. It's very, very cool getting Turtles down to the broadcast. We'll be right back after this with more Alpine Esports.
Feel my arms holding on so tight just when you need it most. Feel the freedom of being careless, just being in love. Everything will be alright. Through the darkness, through the night, no fear anymore. No fear anymore. too far to say that we cannot pretend now. Was it never enough to have just everything you want? In your shadow I found a place to hide me from my own thoughts. And if I ever got lost, you find a way to bring me home. And I want something I can hold, that's worth this waiting cold. And I want something that is real, something to make me feel alive. I want something I can hold, that's worth this waiting cold. And I want something that is real, something to make me feel alive.
What's good, friends? Welcome back to the grid. It's F Dot. It's F Dot and Turtle, and
Thank you.
Jordan is here as well. What's up, man?
Hello,
How you
hello.
doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm chilling. It's been a fun day,
Good.
kind of like getting back into the grid. And I guess that's where I'll go. Like we've had a lot of different Rocket League going on here with the regionals and the
Yeah.
grid and the field, and then we changed it again here for the grid this time around. New format on the grid. You like it better? You like it worse? How you feeling?
I think I prefer this format because with the last grid format, you could just be out in 2 series, but now everybody makes it to the second day and gets multiple chances.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that makes it a little bit less stressful for you. And I wanted to know,
Yeah,
it,
for
it
sure.
was a close sweep against Rogue, and I'm not even saying that in any regard, because every single individual game, I felt like you guys were almost there with the play style to figure out how to counter them. But what was the difference? Was the Rogue roster swap, do you think, in your opinion, much better, or a good result for Rogue to switch out Kronovi for somebody like Taroko?
Yeah, I feel like they meshed a little better with Taroko for sure.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
Watching
definitely.
them.
That's what I was thinking, at least. It's difficult to watch them without the leader. You know what I mean? Like, I always thought Kronovi was going to be the in-game leader, but I guess with First Killer coming out with the mechanics, F dot, it's probably better.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking with respect to the rogue lineup. They seem just to be like a good matchup against you guys. But Space Station, on the other hand, I mean, you guys took them out in 5 games, and look, I'm usually straight up. I don't think this was. I'm usually down to be like, yeah, they got lucky or whatnot. But y'all played like real good. This was a matchup where, like, if you don't know anything about Rocket League and you're just watching these two teams, there's no doubt that they're like evenly matched. Did you feel like Space Station was like an even matchup for you guys?
Well, Space Station is known as like the I guess, the best in North America right now. So we kind of over prepare when we face them. That's why out of all the top 4 teams, probably upset them the most for sure.
You look
Right, and
comfortable.
that makes
Like,
sense.
my bad, Turtle, but like, are you like comfortable with all the preparation? Are you comfortable going up against Space Station?
I mean, I don't know about comfortable because they're all really good, obviously,
That's
but
fair.
Yeah.
I guess you could call it prepared instead of comfortable.
Well, and that's weird because Dread, I mean, obviously being Dread, knowing and kind of understanding how you guys tend to, I guess, approach a lot of these tournaments, especially with SSG. He was saying that you guys have such a good track record against them, and you know really where to counter that play style. And I want to know, what's the difference between, starting the grid out here, obviously coming in through the close qualifier, but what's your confidence like now knowing you have all the experience, all the results from the previous regional events versus maybe your mentality in the first week of the grid last split?
I don't know if it's really a confidence thing more than a just we feel a little bit more comfortable now.
Mm, yeah, that definitely makes more sense
Yeah.
because you're a little bit familiar with the situation,
Yeah, yeah.
how things are meant to be played out. Yeah, that's great, especially coming up against the new roster changes. And like you guys are obviously sticking together. And I want to know, is that obviously a plan? Like you look at teams like G2, who have stuck together and perfect that play style and remain to be at the top. Is that your end goal to be a team like that?
Yeah, for sure. I think big reason why really want to stick together is because we're all friends and we just
Mm.
work well together, and we give each other criticism, and it's all positive.
That's what's up. It certainly seems like it.
Yeah.
Last before we kind of jump out of here, I want to talk a little bit about Mystic's role on the team. You guys in the past have really spoke highly about like how he's been able to help you guys. Obviously, you kind of like coach yourselves, when the Mystic comes through with an alternate angle. How has Mystic kind of helped you guys grow over the summer and into our fall and winter splits?
I feel like Mystic really polished our kind of chaotic play style and really helped us with plays that we wouldn't usually make. Say, say there's a ball like going to our backboard.
Mm.
Sometimes we do things as stupid as jumping for it when we could just drive up the wall to get it easily, and just little things like that. He's taught us.
That's
Yeah, you got
word.
that. He's got like that outside perspective. I think that's always nice
Yeah,
to have with a coach, like somebody who isn't necessarily on the pitch, but they can just break it down. Because when you're playing down there, you're not gonna analyze Percy or Magic Bear like, oh, dude, you should have jumped there in that one specific moment. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's nice
yeah.
to have somebody who's like that.
Good stuff, man. It's always fun kind of watching you guys. I think over the course of when you first jumped in, Alpine brand new to now, clearly a whole
Oh
bunch
yeah,
of growth, at least from where Turtle and I are sitting, and even other people, do like watching you guys WSOE, like obviously a very different game field, but people like Lawler being like they've clearly leveled up. Do you feel, obviously you continue to work, but do you feel like you've leveled up, you've matured, whatever the word you want to use? You feel a little like stronger than you started out?
Yeah, for sure. I think we're a lot more consistent than we used to be, at least.
That's the goal. That's the dream.
oh yeah.
Consistency and bringing in the end product. But I think that's going to wrap it up for us today. You guys have a big bracket to jump into tomorrow. Single limb, of course. Like good luck. Best wishes towards that one. We got a lot of
Thank you,
faith in
thank
you,
you.
but we're gonna bounce out of here. Turtle and Jordan repping the Alpine roster. Turtle just kind of repping himself, but we'll be back here tomorrow, same time, same place. Twitch.tv/Alpine_esports. Thank you for watching. We'll tune in tomorrow. Peace.